Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
With the arrival of summer, the students of Hogwarts were finally able to enjoy their long-awaited holiday. Accompanied by the sound of the train's whistle, the young wizards embarked on the long journey home. Unlike them, however, were the young wizards of the 7th grade. They had graduated. From the moment they stepped on the train, they no longer belonged to this school. Instead, they had to embark on their own new lives and take up their own positions. Headmaster Dumbledore stood at the school's main gate, smiling as he looked at the reluctant students. "Go, children. Whenever you want to come back, Hogwarts will always welcome you. You are the pride of Hogwarts." He was tall and thin, wearing a pair of glasses, a wizard's robe, and a pointy hat. In his unique style, he gave his blessings and encouragement to the students. Finally, all the students left. He smiled as he turned around and walked towards the castle. After a small meeting with the teachers, they would also be able to enjoy their own holiday. Suddenly, he stopped and revealed an expression of surprise. On the grass below the castle, a black-haired boy was lying there. He was sure that the boy was not in the castle, but he had been standing there all this time. How did the boy get in? Was it phantom transference? Impossible. Hogwarts had many spells and restrictions placed on it. One of the most famous ones was to prevent anyone from using phantom transference. Even Dumbledore, the strongest wizard of this century, could not break through this restriction. "Looks like I have other things to do before I enjoy my holiday." He shook his head and took out his wand. With a light tap, the boy on the ground floated up and floated beside him. Together, they went into the castle. In the castle hall, the teachers were waiting. When they saw Dumbledore enter, Vice-Headmaster Minerva McGonagall walked over. "Dumbledore, who is this boy?" Hearing Professor McGonagall's voice, the teachers walked over curiously. A mysterious boy who suddenly appeared in the school. "Just in case, I have to let him follow me for a while," Dumbledore said with a smile. Suddenly appearing in the academy, the black-robed man with greasy curly hair frowned. "Principal, you know how special this year is. It's better to deal with this kind of unstable factor as soon as possible." Severus, I know what you're trying to say, but I don't think we should treat a child as an enemy just because he broke the restriction of phantom shift, right? In that case, we would be no different from those adepts." As he spoke, he smiled and looked at the young man. "And I think he's very interesting. I can't see how much magic he has. Isn't that surprising? Maybe he's just a muggle," the black-robed man called Severus said grumpily. "Oh, that's good. If it's a muggle, it proves that there's no danger." Dumbledore chuckled and waved his hand. "All right, let's not talk about him for now. Severus, Harry will be here after the summer break. I think you'll be happy." "Absolutely not." "All right then." Dumbledore didn't seem to want to stay on this topic for long. He continued to let the young man float beside him while he began to talk to the teachers about the new students after the summer break. It wasn't until the sky was dark that the teachers walked out of the Hogwarts campus and left with phantom shift. Only the tall old man was left in the huge castle. Well, there were also many ghosts and whatnot. The old man smiled and looked at the young man. "Young sir, if you're awake, how about you say hello?" Zhang Fan opened his eyes and smiled helplessly. "You already knew that I was awake." "Of course. The power of magic is very mysterious." Dumbledore raised his eyebrows. "I'm Albus Dumbledore, the principal of Hogwarts School of Magic and Wizardry." "Young sir, can you tell me why you're here?" Zhang Fan shook his head. "Sorry, I don't know." To be honest, he was more confused than the old man in front of him. Why was he here when he woke up? Dumbledore, Hogwarts, this was Harry Potter's world. He had also become a child. It was obvious that he had transmigrated, but the current environment wasn't very good. Dumbledore, the strongest light wizard in history. Even the great demon King Voldemort had to give way in front of him. Such a powerful existence was asking him a question, and the pressure it brought was not ordinary. Zhang Fan wasn't a wizard and didn't have any magic. In front of Dumbledore, this great wizard, he was as powerless as a baby. Dumbledore didn't use any magic. Just the waves he unintentionally emitted were difficult for Zhang Fan to resist. At this moment, a voice sounded in Zhang Fan's mind. All-rounded module system has been activated. 1 gold lottery draw and 1 normal lottery draw. Host, please begin the lottery draw. All-rounded module system. The voice sounded in Zhang Fan's mind, and he could communicate with it through telepathy. Hearing Zhang Fan's doubts, the voice explained, this system provides services for the host to become the strongest in the infinite universe. Through lottery draws, exchanges, and other methods, the host can download many powerful modules. As the number of modules increases, the host will also become the strongest in the infinite universe. To Zhang Fan, who now had nothing, there was no better news. Let's begin the gold lottery draw. Gold lottery draw begins. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Advanced Energy Module. Module is being loaded. Loading complete. Following the voice, Zhang Fan's empty body suddenly surged with a terrifying energy that made one tremble. In less than a tenth of a second, Zhang Fan had transformed from an ordinary person with no strength to a person with powerful magic that even most top-grade magi couldn't compare to. What a powerful force. Is this magic? No, this is the pure energy brought about by the advanced energy module. It can be used to recharge any energy system, and magic is only a small branch of it. I see. Then I'll begin the normal lottery draw. Normal lottery draw begins. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Mechanized Mind module. This module is not a necessity. Would you like to load it? Mechanized Mind? What does that mean? Zhang Fan asked curiously. Activating the Mechanized Mind module will cause the host to enter an emotionless, absolutely rational mode. In this state, all your actions and judgments will be the best judgment you can make. In addition, under the Mechanized Mind module, you will be immune to most spiritual attacks and probing. Load it? Load it now? Roger. Loading module. Loading complete? There are still 3 slots left. The conversation in Zhang Fan's mind seemed to be quite long, but in fact, it was less than a second. It was just the first question that Dumbledore asked Zhang Fan. Hearing Zhang Fan's answer, Dumbledore didn't look satisfied. He looked into Zhang Fan's eyes and slowly activated his magic. Zhang Fan looked at Dumbledore and sent out a command in his mind. Activate the Mechanized Mind module? Dumbledore had a feeling that he was facing a robot. No matter how hard he tried to communicate with Zhang Fan, he could not find anything wrong with Zhang Fan. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. He could only conclude that Zhang Fan had nothing to do with the dark sorcerers. Otherwise, it was impossible for such a big child to have such a powerful brain seal spell that even he could not break through. Dumbledore felt relieved and apologized to Zhang Fan. Although this was an important year for the wizarding world, it was still a bit too much for him to be suspicious of a child. Zhang Fan politely accepted Dumbledore's apology. From the beginning to the end, his performance was flawless. This was the power of the Mechanized Mind. When the Mechanized Mind module was activated, all of Zhang Fan's thought processes would prioritize achieving her goals. At the same time, Zhang Fan's surface thoughts were also under the control of the module. Even Dumbledore could not see through it. This is the power of the omnipotent module system. Zhang Fan could not help but sigh. While casually replying to Dumbledore, Zhang Fan divided his attention and asked the system in his mind. System, you said that other than the lottery you gave me, I can also exchange for modules and buy lottery chances. How do I exchange for them? There are many ways to exchange for points. The 2 easiest ways are to complete system missions and sell skills to the system. Sell skills? Including magic in this world? Yes. Zhang Fan's heart skipped a beat and he looked at Dumbledore. Sir. Yes. Dumbledore was in the middle of explaining to Zhang Fan what magic was. He was suddenly interrupted and looked at Zhang Fan curiously. You said that Hogwarts is a school that teaches magic, right? Of course. Hogwarts exists for this purpose. Dumbledore nodded. Then can I go to school here? I want to become a wizard too? Joining Hogwarts, learning magic, and then selling it to the system. This was Zhang Fan's idea? At first, he thought that Dumbledore would think about it. He did not expect Dumbledore to nod his head as soon as he finished his request. If you wish, I welcome you on behalf of Hogwarts. Dumbledore paused and looked at Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan, I'm Zhang Fan, Mr. Dumbledore. On behalf of Hogwarts, I welcome you, Mr. Zhang Fan. Dumbledore blinked as if he was wondering if he should reverse the Huxian name, but after some thought, he decided to use Zhang Fan's habit of saying the name. Ah, right, Zhang. Dumbledore suddenly had a look of realization. I have to say this first. Although I'm willing to show you around the school before the new semester begins, unfortunately, I have some work to do this summer. If it's possible, can we meet here in a month? At that time, although school hasn't started yet, our teachers will all be there. I'm sure they won't mind teaching a thirsty student some useful knowledge before the start of the new semester. No problem, Mr. Dumbledore. You can continue with your work, but I'm afraid I'll need to borrow some money. I'll definitely pay you back in the first semester. Of course. Dumbledore took out his wand from his pocket and tapped it lightly on his palm. A small cloth pouch appeared in his hand. 35 gold coins. It'll cover your expenses. Thank you. Zhang Fan took the pouch. There's one more thing I need to trouble you with. What is it? Can you teach me a few spells? Zhang Fan grinned. At noon on the same day, Zhang Fan slowly walked out of a street fireplace with a green fire burning in it. This was Diagon Alley, the supermarket for magicians. The system's voice sounded in his mind. You have successfully avoided the light magician Dumbledore's spiritual force detection. Completion level, S. You have received 150 reward points and a chance to draw a normal lottery. Begin the lottery, Zhang Fan said. At the same time, he made a note of the method to obtain the reward. It seemed that he would be able to get the reward even if he didn't receive the mission in advance. Normal lottery begins. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Eagle Vision. This module is not a necessity. Do you wish to install it? Eagle Vision. Zhang Fan was amused. Does pressing E allow me to use X-ray vision to mark my enemies? I don't understand your way of explaining it. After activating the Eagle Vision module, you will obtain an observation ability similar to God's View. You will be able to greatly increase your control over the battlefield, and at the same time, prevent people from sneaking up on you from your blind spots. Zhang Fan was stunned. This was a godly ability? With this module, when he fought in the future, it would be just like controlling a game character. It would be much more convenient. Install the module. Roger. Installing the module. Installation complete? There are still 2 slots left. After installing the module, Zhang Fan impatiently activated it. The next second, his field of vision suddenly became extremely high, as if he was looking down from midair. He could see that he was standing in front of a fireplace. He could also see 2 magicians haggling in front of a stall not too far away to his left. At this moment, Zhang Fan suddenly saw that in the crowd not too far away, someone was reaching into the pocket of a female magician's robe. Damn. Seeing this scene, Zhang Fan couldn't help but curse. How could there be such a person in the Magus world? He deactivated the Eagle Vision module and was about to go over, only to find that after deactivating the Eagle Vision, the person had actually disappeared from his sight. Reactivating the Eagle Vision, he saw the person who was stealing. So that's how it is. Eagle Vision has the ability to see through invisibility. How is this a normal lottery? This is practically a golden lottery. After excitedly clenching his fists, Zhang Fan used the God's View to control himself to rush over while shouting, "There's an invisible thief! Catch this BD!" Minerva McGonagall was the vice principal of the Hogwarts Magic Academy. She had come to Diagon Alley to purchase some materials during the summer holidays. Just as she was strolling down the street, the Detect Malice spell that she attached to her accessory suddenly activated. She did not need to turn around to know that someone was using an illusion spell to approach her and steal her things. The illusion spell was a spell that was similar to invisibility. It was not a low-level spell, and those who could use it were not weak. The other party was definitely not a simple thief. It was no wonder that the wizards around her could not see them. She reached for the wand in her pocket. At this moment, a boy's shout came from the side. "There's an invisible thief. Catch this BD!" McGonagall was stunned. The person who was reaching for the items in McGonagall's pocket was also stunned. Looking at Zhang Fan who was running over, McGonagall showed a curious expression. Who was this young man? He could see through such a high-level illusion spell. Could he be the descendant of some big family? That could not be right. She had never seen him before. The thief was not curious, but angry. In his opinion, he was about to succeed. He was about to steal the important documents from McGonagall, but it was ruined by a brat who came out of nowhere. The invisible thief cursed in a low voice, then took out his wand from his pocket without hesitation and aimed it at Zhang Fan. A few wizards around them looked at the invisible man. Although they could not see him, they could feel the magic waves of someone who was about to cast a spell on the street. McGonagall frowned and was about to stop him from casting the spell. Zhang Fan was watching curiously. In his eagle-eye vision, he saw a red circle appear above the stealthy thief's head. Outside the red circle was a circle of red light that looked like a countdown timer that was slowly ticking down. Obviously, the red circle meant that someone was casting a spell on him, and the countdown timer outside indicated how long it would take for the spell to be cast. This eagle vision is really a godly skill, Zhang Fan praised and raised his hand to aim at the invisible thief. McGonagall looked at Zhang Fan with interest and stopped what he was doing. At the same time, he nodded to the other adepts, telling them not to worry. As an advanced wizard in the domain of curses, McGonagall was confident that she could observe Zhang Fan's performance. Even if Zhang Fan made a mistake, she could still save him. The thief Magus, who was invisible, quickly opened his mouth. Shatter. Too slow. Zhang Fan waved her hand. Armor. As the incantation sounded, a translucent shield suddenly covered the thief's body. Just as the red curse was about to hit him, it bounced back and hit the thief. With a miserable scream, the thief directly escaped from the illusion. He clutched his broken arm and screamed in pain. Casting without a staff. Seeing this, McGonagall was finally shocked. Impossible? Even if it's an advanced magus who specializes in combat, there aren't many who can release such a powerful armor curse without using a magic wand. The other adepts also looked at Zhang Fan with surprise. So strong? How old is he? He looks like he's only a freshman, yet he can actually release such a strong armor to protect himself. No, that's not right. It's not that his incantation is strong. When he used the curse just now, his control wasn't perfect. The reason why the armor is so strong is because his magic power is too strong. Just by casually releasing it, it's a few times stronger than others. What terrifying magic power! Are all the freshmen this scary nowadays? Did I drink too much butterbeer? No, I have to find a place to accept reality. As the adepts discussed, McGonagall gently waved her wand and captured the thief. She then walked in front of Zhang Fan. Thank you for your help, young man. Zhang Fan didn't have much of a reaction when McGonagall called him a young man. Even if he was in his 20s before his transmigration, he would still be a child in front of McGonagall. It's everyone's responsibility to be a Samaritan. Zhang Fan hummed and patted her chest. McGonagall didn't know whether to laugh or cry. During the battle just now, this brat had been full of confidence and vigor. Who would have thought that he would have a sense of humor when talking? Kid, you've ruined our plans. We won't let you go. The magus who was tied up by McGonagall's spell cursed at Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan glanced at him. Is it really okay for you to expose the fact that you have an accomplice? If I were your teammate, I'd definitely give you a curse. Hearing this, the magus suddenly understood and shut his mouth tightly. This made Zhang Fan understand what it meant to have a low IQ. We seem to have met before. You're the young man who was brought into the school by the headmaster this morning. Just as Zhang Fan looked at the magus with pity, McGonagall suddenly asked thoughtfully. She didn't pay much attention to the captive. As the vice headmaster of Hogwarts, she had experienced this kind of thing many times. Where there were people, there would be trouble. It was the same in the world of magi. Zhang Fan nodded. Yes, my name is Zhang Fan. I've just received permission from the headmaster to become a student of Hogwarts this year. I'm here to learn more knowledge and magic. With your strength, you still intend to study in school? McGonagall subconsciously asked a question that a teacher shouldn't ask. Zhang Fan didn't mind and just smiled. It's never too late to learn. There are too many things in this world that I don't understand, so it has nothing to do with my strength. I just want to learn more. Just a few simple words, and McGonagall was full of praise. After chatting for a while, McGonagall said goodbye to Zhang Fan because she had something important to do. She quickly left with her captive. Before she left, she told Zhang Fan that if there were any results from the interrogation, she would let him know. Zhang Fan didn't care much about this. What he cared about was whether the system treated the incident as a mission. It seemed that he was very lucky. As soon as McGonagall left, the prompt sounded. You have successfully defeated an intermediate magus and received the approval of Professor McGonagall. Completion level, B+. You have received 85 reward points. Plus the previous 150 points, this was 235 reward points. Zhang Fan looked at the things that could be exchanged with the points. The almighty module system didn't seem to be that comprehensive in the exchange. There weren't many things that could be exchanged, but they were basically more practical. The normal lottery was 1,000 points, and the gold was 10,000 points. This was the beginner's discount. Zhang Fan didn't want to save so much money for the lottery. He planned to exchange for something useful first. Soon, Zhang Fan found his goal. System, exchange for a beginner memory storage module. The beginner memory module was worth 220 reward points. Zhang Fan bought it as soon as he saw it. After installing it, Zhang Fan suddenly had a feeling that he could remember everything that happened in front of him. He tried to glance at the shop next to him and closed his eyes. There are a total of 31 items on the shelves. They are the copper yellow crucible, the innards of the lizard, a few plants that I don't understand, and... He recited them one by one. After thinking about them all, he opened his eyes and looked at the shelves again. Sure enough, they were all the same. Zhang Fan smiled. He was very satisfied with the ability of this new module. This module didn't enhance his memory, but it opened up a separate memory bank that would never be deleted. The beginner memory module only had 50 T of memory. If Zhang Fan remembered more than that, he would have to add another memory module or upgrade the existing one. The reason why he bought this module was that he was still very unfamiliar with this world and needed to recharge his memory. Just like before, the items on the shelf were very common to other wizards, but he didn't recognize many of them. After familiarizing himself with the new module, Zhang Fan touched the money pouch on his waist and walked forward with satisfaction. He wanted to go to Ollivander's wand shop. In the world of Harry Potter, of course, he had to have his own wand first. Even if he didn't have a robe or a broom, he still needed a wand. He pushed open the wooden door with a wind chime and walked into the quaint shop. As soon as he walked in, Zhang Fan noticed that there were a few people who had come before him. It was a family of 3, a couple with a little girl. Judging from their age, they should be new students of Hogwarts this year, just like him. The father also saw Zhang Fan walk in alone. He smiled and turned around, revealing a somewhat reserved smile. Hello, young man. Are you here to buy, a wand? Yes, sir. I'm here to prepare for Hogwarts. Zhang Fan nodded. My daughter, Hermione, is also a freshman this year, but, well, we're just ordinary people who haven't come into contact with these things, so we're still not used to it. Oh, right, I'm sorry I haven't introduced myself. I'm a dentist from London. You can call me Granger. Zhang Fan smiled and said, Mr. Granger, there are many people in the wizarding world who are not pure-blooded. That's normal. You don't need to be nervous. At least your daughter is much better than someone like me who doesn't even have a family, right? Mr. Granger exclaimed in surprise. His wife covered her mouth, and the girl with long, fluffy hair looked at him with pursed lips. I'm sorry, I didn't intend to make you unhappy. Zhang Fan said, my name is Zhang Fan. Let's get down to business. You guys came first, so you can choose the wand first. What do you think, boss? He said the last sentence to the old man behind the counter. The old man chuckled and said, just call me Mr. Ollivander. I'm just a small shop owner. I don't deserve to be called a boss. As he spoke, he called the little girl named Hermione over and, under her nervous gaze, asked her some questions about her spellcasting habits. During this process, Zhang Fan kept looking at Hermione with interest. He really didn't expect to meet the female lead who ran through the entire plot here. The Hermione in the real world was completely different from what was described in the novel. Instead, she was very similar to Emma in the movie. That delicate little face, beautiful big eyes, fair skin, and long blonde hair all made Zhang Fan feel pleasing to the eye. After asking about Hermione's spellcasting habits, Ollivander took out a tape measure and prepared to measure Hermione's body. At this moment, Zhang Fan suddenly walked over. Mr. Ollivander, you look tired. Let me help you. When I was in school, I did this for my classmates during physical examinations. Oh, of course, Miss Granger. What do you think? Ollivander nodded happily. His body wasn't that good. The blonde girl looked at Zhang Fan, thought for a moment, and nodded. She's different from the movie. She seems a little shy, probably because she's nervous. Zhang Fan thought it was funny and reached out to measure the length of Hermione's arm. Because it was summer, both of them were wearing short sleeves. It was inevitable that they would touch each other's arms. Hermione was probably still nervous from her first encounter with the wizarding world, but Zhang Fan didn't think so. He just focused on enjoying the girl's soft skin. After measuring the length of her arms, Zhang Fan began to move the tape measure down and around Hermione's chest. The girl looked at him in confusion. "Excuse me, why are you measuring here? This is also part of the wand test. A wizard's various attributes will affect the choice of wand," Zhang Fan said seriously as he placed his hands on both sides of Hermione's body. Hermione had no choice but to take it seriously. After a long while, Zhang Fan finally stopped touching Hermione. Ollivander had been working on his own things at the counter, while the Granger couple was curiously looking at the wands on the shelf. Hermione didn't quite understand what Zhang Fan was doing, but she still blushed and her heart raced. In the end, after 3 rounds of testing, Ollivander finally gave a wand to Hermione. The girl immediately forgot all about how Zhang Fan had taken advantage of her. She happily began to study her wand. After reminding Hermione not to use her mana recklessly, Zhang Fan came to the counter. "Thank you, Mr. Ollivander. Here's my wand." Oh, alright, no problem. Every magus will be able to get a wand they are satisfied with here," Ollivander said happily. The Granger family also came over curiously to see what kind of wand Zhang Fan would get. "Mr. Zhang. That's what you call me, right? Which hand do you prefer?" Ollivander asked slowly. "Right hand." Ollivander began measuring Zhang Fan's arm length with his ruler. Hermione's mother then asked Zhang Fan with great interest, "Zhang, is the martial arts of the Celestial Empire very powerful? Some masters can even determine the enemy's location just by their aura, right?" Hermione was a little unhappy. "Mom, Zhang Fan is choosing a magic wand." Zhang Fan didn't mind. With his back facing the family of 3, he said casually, "It's okay. I don't know much about it, but I can determine someone's location just by their aura. Mrs. Granger, you're now half a meter to the right of Hermione, and Mr. Granger is now 40 centimeters away from the shelf. He's touching his nose." Ollivander, who was measuring Zhang Fan's arm, was stunned. The Granger family of 3 was also stunned. Zhang Fan had his back to them, and yet he was able to tell their location so clearly, and it was accurate down to the centimeter. Mr. Granger didn't move. He quickly looked at the 3 of them. "You're right? This is amazing. Is this the Qigong of the Celestial Empire? That's amazing." Hermione wanted to see if there was a mirror in front of Zhang Fan, but she quickly realized that Zhang Fan wasn't looking at them at all. Ollivander held the ruler as he gasped in shock. "There's no magical wave at all. Mr. Zhang, you really didn't use any magic. I've learned something new today." Cough, cough. "It's just a small trick," Zhang Fan said expressionlessly. Zhang Fan said expressionlessly. There was nothing to be proud of. After all, he didn't know any Qigong. All he had done was activate his eagle eye vision and use the god's eye view. At this moment, he suddenly froze. In his eagle eye vision, he saw 2 magic wands on the shelf in front of him. They were emitting a faint silver light. He couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. He turned to look at them. When Zhang Fan first obtained eagle eye vision, he didn't pay much attention to this module. He only thought of it as a cheat in battle. However, eagle eye vision brought him one surprise after another. For example, during the battle just now, when the thief wizard was aiming at him, his eagle vision automatically marked a red circle on top of the wizard's head. There was also a countdown timer outside the circle, which was equivalent to adding another layer of cheat code on top of the cheat code. Now, it was even more amazing. He could see through the boxes that contained the wands and see the wands inside. "Mr. Zhang." Ollivander looked a little puzzled. Zhang Fan couldn't care less about how long his arm was. He walked directly to the bottom of the cabinet. "Mr. Ollivander, can you show me the 2 wands that are placed at the bottom of the 3rd level from the left?" Ollivander followed Zhang Fan's gaze and looked over. That's..." He muttered subconsciously, but he still slowly walked over, moved the ladder, and took down the 2 boxes of wands. As he walked back, he looked at Zhang Fan as if he was looking at an alien. "Mr. Zhang, forgive me for asking such a rude question, but please satisfy my curiosity. Why did you suddenly want to see these 2 wands when you didn't do anything?" "There's no reason. If I have to say, it's probably intuition." As he spoke, Zhang Fan reached out and opened the first box. Inside lay a black wand. It was very straight, thin at the front and thick at the back. The body of the wand was very smooth. Windmill wood and dragon's nerves. "This is a very powerful wand," Ollivander said. Zhang Fan slowly took out the wand. It was very light and very comfortable. It made him feel as if this thing was an extension of his arm. Vanish without a trace. He casually extended the wand and pointed to the side. In an instant, a large shelf beside him disappeared from everyone's sight. "It feels perfect. It's 100% under my control. No more, no less. I like it." After cancelling the spell, Zhang Fan smiled and took back the wand. "You're really a genius. It's the first time I've seen someone cast such a beautiful spell before entering the school." "Oh, vanish. It requires a lot of mana. It's terrifying." The Granger family was still in shock at what Zhang Fan had just done. "So this is a magus. Too magical, too magical. Will Hermione become such a powerful wizard in the future?" Mrs. Granger asked in surprise. Ollivander shook his head. Mr. Zhang's incantation isn't something that anyone can do. You should know that he made an entire shelf of magic wands disappear. This isn't something that disappearing ordinary objects can compare to. I'm afraid that Mr. Zhang's magic is far beyond imagination. He will definitely become a powerful wizard in the future. After hearing Ollivander's words, the Granger family finally understood what Zhang Fan's spell meant. They couldn't help but look at Zhang Fan again. Hermione blinked her beautiful big eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. Ollivander sighed and was about to take back the other box. Zhang Fan's performance just now showed that he had found a suitable one for himself. There was no need for the other one. However, Zhang Fan stopped him. Wait a minute, Mr. Ollivander. Let me see the other one too. Huh. Ollivander looked at him blankly. Why, Mr. Zhang? The wand in your hand has already chosen you, he said. It's just intuition. I want to see that one again. Thank you, Zhang Fan said firmly. Ollivander had no choice but to put the box back. At the same time, he was actually a little excited. He didn't know what Zhang Fan would do next. Zhang Fan opened the box. This time, it was a white wand. As soon as he opened it, Zhang Fan felt a cold aura coming from the wand. The black wand gave Zhang Fan the impression that it was heavy, powerful, and profound. This white wand, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. It was cold, sharp, and agile, like a gust of wind with sharp ice blades. Just by looking at this wand, one could feel its strong sense of invasiveness. Linden wood, and the heart of a dragon. By the way, this wand and the one in your hand are twin wands. They were made from the same material as a dragon. It was a terrifying creature, an ancient species that no one knew of. It was not killed, but rather died from the backlash of using some unknown magic. Most of the materials were taken away by the Ministry of Magic, and the remaining materials were used to make these two wands. Ollivander explained dutifully. Zhang Fan did not say anything. He reached out and picked up the wand. Ollivander opened his mouth and was about to say something, but then he froze. Under everyone's gaze, the white wand in Zhang Fan's left hand surged with a silver whirlwind. The whirlwind circled around his left arm like a shield, creating a shrill sound as it tore through the air. The black wand in his right hand also surged with a black mist, slowly spreading out and enveloping Zhang Fan's right arm. Two wands at the same time recognizing a wizard? How is this possible? This has never happened before in history, Ollivander exclaimed in shock. Zhang Fan shrugged and casually placed the two wands in his left and right pockets. After what happened today, Mr. Ollivander, I'm very satisfied with these two wands. I'll take them both. Give me a price. Ollivander's mouth was wide open, and he looked at Zhang Fan as if he had seen a ghost. After a long time, he finally said in a somewhat dull voice. After seeing such a miraculous thing, I don't intend to make any profit from the crafting. Cost price, 30 garin. Zhang Fan's expression was one of pain. From Dumbledore, he had only received a total of 35 garins. Entering Hogwarts didn't just require a wand, he also needed a robe and textbooks, especially the textbooks, which were extremely expensive. Originally, he wanted to ask this old man if he could pay in installments, using leeches or promissory notes, but after thinking about it, he realized that it was impossible. Furthermore, there was a little loli looking at him from behind. His head could be broken, but his hairstyle could not be messed up. This was what it meant to be a man. Thinking of this, Zhang Fan took out 30 gold coins and gave them to Ollivander. Walking out of the magic wand shop, Zhang Fan looked at the remaining 5 gold coins in his pocket with a despondent look on his face. Hermione and his family followed him out. The couple smiled at Zhang Fan. They saw how embarrassed Zhang Fan was. Mr. Granger even kindly asked if he needed to lend him some money, but Zhang Fan declined. As a transmigrator with dreams and ambitions, if he was reduced to borrowing money, it would be too shameful for transmigrators. He had completely forgotten about borrowing money from Dumbledore. Since Hermione's first stop was also to buy a magic wand, the two of them had more or less the same thing to do afterward, which was to purchase the remaining necessities for school. Therefore, Hermione's family decided to go with Zhang Fan. Under Hermione's strong request, their second destination was Lihen Bookstore. It happened to be the last place Zhang Fan wanted to go. Since there was still a long time before school started, there weren't many students who came to purchase books early. There weren't many people in Lihen Bookstore. When Hermione came in, his eyes couldn't leave the rows of books on the shelves. He rushed over without hesitation. Zhang Fan chuckled as he followed behind. He also came to the front of the bookshelf. The book covers on the bookshelves were all about the same color. In this era, there were not so many gaudy covers. Most of the books were pure color. If one did not look at the gilded words on the spine, one would not be able to tell which book was which. However, for Zhang Fan, this was not a difficult task. After activating his eagle-eye vision for a second, he found the few books he needed. First was Standard Incantations, Beginner, the first book on the Hogwarts admission list. The book was quite thick. It looked like it could be used as a brick. This was Zhang Fan's first reaction. The asking price was 7 gold coins. He could not afford it at all. This was Zhang Fan's second reaction. Right now, he really wanted to go back in time and find Dumbledore who had given him the money. The moment the old man said, 35 gold coins, I'll cover your expenses, Garin threw a curse at his face. Not to mention the fact that he had spent so much money to buy 2 wands. Even if he had only bought 1 wand, the remaining money would not be enough to purchase all the goods. Mr. Granger noticed Zhang Fan's expression, so he slowly leaned over and whispered into Zhang Fan's ear, "Hey, young man, let me lend you some money. I'm so familiar with your expression. You always look like this when I go out for a drink and don't have any money with me." "What? You went out for a drink?" Mrs. Granger was instantly displeased. Zhang Fan smiled as he looked at the couple. He knew that they were trying to ease his awkwardness so that he would not be embarrassed to lend them money. However, this time, he really did not want to lend them money. Not enough money? Books too expensive? Are these even problems? No way. Zhang Fan kept a straight face and walked to the bookshelf step by step. He reached for the Standard Incantations beginner book and flipped it open. Then, he started flipping through the pages rapidly. What are you doing? Mr. Granger was confused. Hermione, who was beside them, was also attracted by the commotion. He turned his head and saw Zhang Fan standing in front of the bookshelf. She was like a page-turning machine, constantly flipping through the book in her hand. She paused for about half a second for each page before flipping to the next page. Hermione had a strange expression on her face. What kind of reading method was this? Was Zhang Fan practicing his book flipping speed? Who would practice such a thing? The bookstore manager also frowned and walked over. Seeing Zhang Fan's actions, he was very displeased. Books were sacred and brought people knowledge. How could they become toys in this kid's hands? He must be a poor kid from the countryside who did not even know how to read. How could he pretend to know how to read? How stupid! Zhang Fan, on the other hand, had no intention of stopping. After flipping through the first book, he let out a long sigh of relief. Then, he picked up another book called Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration and started flipping through it. When he picked up the third book, the manager finally could not take it anymore and strode over. "Hey, kid, stop. Do you want to turn the book into waste paper? If you think that just because you know how to flip books, you are a learned person, you are gravely mistaken. You should learn how to read books first before you come here and pretend." Huh. Zhang Fan frowned and looked at the person who interrupted him. Then, he turned to look at Hermione. "Who is this guy? I'm the manager of this shop. I have the right to ask you to stop damaging the books in the shop." Hearing Zhang Fan's words, he couldn't help but show a sullen expression, and his tone became even harsher. Zhang Fan tilted his head. "Damage? What do you mean? I was just reading. Is there a rule in this shop that says that I can't read without buying? Reading? You call your action of tearing a book just now reading a book? Do you think reading is just flipping through the book? Remember, young man, the purpose of reading books is to obtain the knowledge and memorize the contents, not to train your fingers." Zhang Fan frowned and slowly put down the book in his hand. "Mr. Manager, how can you be so sure that I didn't memorize the contents of the book? Do you even need to ask? Look at the way you flipped through the book. You didn't even look at a single page. If you can remember the contents like that, I don't need you to buy it. I'll give it to you for free." "Hey, sir, you've gone too far." Mr. Granger interrupted unhappily, but Zhang Fan raised his hand to stop him. "Oh, Mr. Manager, you were the one who said that just now." As he spoke, he clapped his hands and picked up the two books he had just finished reading. "Come, ask whatever you want. I'll let you know what the correct posture for reading is." Seeing Zhang Fan's expression, the manager's eyes were filled with disdain. "You still want to put on airs at a time like this? How pitiful. Since you've chosen to throw away your last bit of dignity, I won't hold back either." As he spoke, he flipped open the book. Zhang Fan. Hermione ran over nervously and grabbed Zhang Fan's sleeve. She had seen how Zhang Fan had read the book just now. Even if he was a genius, it was impossible for him to read at that speed. It was impossible for him to memorize a single word. How dare he let others test him? Zhang Fan smiled and reached out to ruffle her fluffy blonde hair, giving her a reassuring look. The manager had already spoken. "In Standard Incantation, beginner, what are the tricks and key points about the use of the levitation spell? You have to continuously wave and shake your wrist. At the same time, you have to pay attention to your pronunciation. You can't confuse F with," Zhang Fan answered without hesitation. "Huh." Hermione looked surprised and puzzled. She clearly saw that Zhang Fan wasn't reading, so how could he answer that question? The manager frowned. "Well, it seems like you've learned this spell before. Well, it can't be helped. After all, it's just a basic standard spell. Let's take a look at this spell." Before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Fan suddenly interrupted him. "That's no fun. Just pick a page or a line and ask me what's written there. If I remember a single word wrong, you win?" Well, even if the manager won, he wouldn't get anything. Zhang Fan thought to himself. The other party was stunned for a moment, as if he had not expected Zhang Fan to set such harsh rules. This was simply courting death. "Zhang Fan, how could you?" Mrs. Granger exclaimed. At this moment, some of the other customers in the bookstore also stood up and looked over. Under everyone's gaze, Zhang Fan held her head high. "It's okay, Mrs. Granger. I just want to use my actions to prove that even the poor have the right to pursue knowledge. I won't lose to those who only judge people by their appearance and don't pay attention to what's inside. I, Zhang Fan, have long been determined to be a thinking wizard who doesn't fear authority." Hearing Zhang Fan's words, a few people who had just come over showed expressions of admiration. The manager almost died of anger. What the hell was this? This kid was the one who was flipping through the book and was stopped by him. Why did he say that he was the bad guy? Suppressing his frustration, he casually flipped through a few pages. Okay, Then tell me, page 51, what does the fourth line say? Although the lock-picking spell is very convenient most of the time, it has its flaws, Zhang Fan answered without hesitation. Page 55, line 12. This spell is often used to liven up the atmosphere at celebrations and balls. Although it's simple, it's widely praised, Zhang Fan said. This time, the manager's expression finally changed. That's right. Not a single word wrong? He widened his eyes and looked at Zhang Fan in disbelief. Did he memorize the book beforehand and then use it to make fun of him? How was that possible? Seeing the manager's expression, the surrounding wizards all looked at Zhang Fan in surprise. They had all read the book and had a rough understanding of what was said in it. The second line that Zhang Fan had just memorized, they knew that it should be a detailed explanation of the flock of flying birds spell. But knowing was one thing. If they were asked to memorize it based on the number of pages and lines, no one would be able to do it. If there was a spell that allowed one to memorize things quickly, Magi wouldn't have to memorize books and take exams. Mr. Manager, what do you think now? Zhang Fan asked with a smile. No, you must have done something. I want to change the book. Saying that, he ran to the shelf and pulled out a dusty book. Didn't you say that you memorized it on the spot using that dimmed method of reading? Then you shouldn't mind memorizing another one, right? He clenched his teeth and said. Of course, please wait for a moment. Zhang Fan took the book and slowly opened it. Then, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he continued to flip through the book. Seeing Zhang Fan's reading speed of less than half a second per page, everyone was dumbfounded. What was this? Was he reading a book? Using this method to read a book and memorize it? Who was he trying to fool? In less than a minute, Zhang Fan had finished flipping through the thin book. This was a novel, an autobiographical novel. With just a few glances, one could tell that the pace was not good. If it was posted on the internet, no one would order it. Done. Looking at Zhang Fan's smiling eyes, the manager didn't know what was going on, but he suddenly trembled all over. He suddenly felt like he was a toad that was being stared at by a snake. He had completely fallen into Zhang Fan's control. He flipped open the book. The sixth line on page 15. Burgess rang the bell, and the bell rang through the village at night. People came out of their houses, wanting to know what he had found. The first line on page 22. After waking up from the dream, he wanted to know what the dream meant, so he went to find his grandfather. Thump. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the book in the manager's hand fell, and he sat on the ground. Zhang Fan grinned and directly put all the books on the shelf into a bag. According to our agreement, these books are mine, Mr. Manager. After doing all this, Zhang Fan turned around and gave a luxurious farewell to everyone. Thank you for your support, everyone. Then we'll bid farewell here. No one knew who started it, but the bookstore suddenly rang out with warm applause. Well done. You're too awesome. You're a new student this year, right? I look forward to your activity. Under the cheers of everyone, Zhang Fan led the Granger family away like a general who had won a battle. You've really made a fortune this time. Mr. Granger was speechless as he looked at the big bag in Zhang Fan's hand. There were more than 20 books in the bag, and each book cost around 10 garan. In other words, Zhang Fan had made more than 200 garan, which was more than £1,000, or 9,000 RMB. It was almost the same as Mr. Granger's 2 months of income as a dentist. Zhang Fan, did you really memorize those books on the spot? That's amazing. Hermione was not familiar with Zhang Fan at first, but now she could not hide her admiration for him. Well, a child's admiration changed every 3 days, so Zhang Fan did not think that he had succeeded in flirting with Hermione. As for Hermione's praise, Zhang Fan only smiled. Memorizing 2 books took up less than 5 M of storage in the memory module. Compared to the memory module's 50 T storage, it was like a drop in the ocean. Okay, let's not talk about me first. We still have a lot of things to buy. Let's not talk about other things, but at least the uniforms. Zhang Fan pointed at Madame Morgan's clothing store not far away. He liked this store the most because it sold the cheapest things. Zhang Fan suddenly felt sad, and at the same time he wanted to kill Dumbledore. The process of buying clothes at Madame Morgan's store was much more normal than at the bookstore. Other than Madame Morgan's enthusiastic praise for Zhang Fan's good figure, Zhang Fan had goosebumps all over his body. With only 5 garan left, Zhang Fan obviously could not buy all the things he needed. He did not plan to borrow money from Mr. Granger, so he had to rely on his own methods to get some money. There were many methods, such as using magic to get pounds from muggles, and then going to Gringotts to exchange them for gold. Or he could use his memory module to work in a place that required brain power. The sorcerer world needed this kind of technical talent. After saying goodbye to the Granger family, Zhang Fan walked along Diagon Alley while thinking. Suddenly, he stopped and looked in front. The number of sorcerers suddenly decreased, and the smell of magic in the air became a little strange. He raised his head and looked at the street sign. In the direction he came from, the street sign said Diagon Alley, and in front of him, the street sign said Overturn Alley. Overturn Alley. I think it's a place like the black market of the adept world. Zhang Fan stroked his chin thoughtfully. Then his eyes lit up. If he wanted money, wasn't this the best choice? Regardless of the story, the black market was never a place that abided by the law. This was especially true in the Magus world where black and white mixed together. It was very normal for there to be some extrajudicial incidents. Zhang Fan touched the magic wand in his pocket and grinned. He took out the black robe he had just bought from the bag and put it on. He even put on the hood. After doing all this, he slowly walked into the dark alley. Although Overturn Alley and Diagon Alley were right next to each other, the scenery was completely different. Here, the sunlight seemed to be unable to penetrate, and the entire alley was shrouded in a layer of haze. Zhang Fan felt like singing Beijing welcomes you. There were quite a few shops here. Zhang Fan walked for a while and saw one that sold poisonous candles, one that sold blood bread, and one that sold self-exploding magic wands. What was with the last one? Who would buy a magic wand that would explode in their hands? Zhang Fan's expression was a little strange. The shops in Overturn Alley were very creepy, but they didn't seem to be very intelligent. Just as he was thinking about this, a shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Zhang Fan, who was looking at the shops next to him, turned his head and saw a tall man wearing a tattered cloak and a mask. Kid, you're blocking my way. Can't you see? The man said in a muffled voice. Oh, okay then, you pass first. Oh, Zhang Fan replied and moved aside. He felt that his temper was still quite good. Seeing that this man was dressed so shabbily, his living conditions must not be too good. There was nothing he could do even if he had a bad temper. He gave way to him and treated him with respect. However, the man had no intention of backing down. Even though Zhang Fan moved aside, he didn't go over. Instead, he slowly extended his right hand that was wearing a black leather glove. Forget it. I'm just lacking an experiment subject. I'll use you. Children have a stronger vitality and can withstand more torture. You're not going to capture me, are you? I think this is a very bad decision. Zhang Fan looked troubled. You can talk when you're in heaven, kid. It's a great honor for you to be the experiment subject of the Dark Wizard, Hein Lor. His hand reached for Zhang Fan's collar. He was too lazy to even cast a spell. Zhang Fan was too young. At this age, even a descendant of a wizard family would not be able to cast a spell. They were as weak as a group of chicks. The next second, his eyes widened. He lowered his head in shock and looked at Zhang Fan, who was only as tall as his chest. Zhang Fan was pointing a black magic wand at his chest. There was a big hole in his chest, and he could see the scenery behind him through his chest. I told you that capturing me was a bad decision. Why didn't you listen? Zhang Fan shook his head helplessly and looked at the dark wizard who fell to the ground with a thud. Looks like with my current strength, I can't use the disintegration curse perfectly. At least, I can't use it silently. If I use this curse perfectly, I should be able to blow his body into pieces. As he spoke, he slowly squatted down and started to rummage through the wizard's belongings. First, there was a money bag. Zhang Fan needed the most right now. After counting, he found a total of 47 garin, 15 siko, and 2 nats. Ha, rich man. At least you're richer than me. Zhang Fan whistled and poured the money into his money bag. Then, he rummaged through another bag. This time, he found something special. There was a magic wand and a small book with a brown cover. Experiment log. This is his experiment log. Based on what he said just now, it seems like he's conducting human experiments. I wonder what it is. As he muttered, Zhang Fan flipped open the book. After reading for a while, he closed the book and threw it into his bag. He grinned. Not bad, I've found a treasure. Looks like I'll have to go to his house next. Reading books on Labor Day is a joy. You have successfully killed the intermediate dark wizard, Hein Lor. Completion level, B+. You have received 85 reward points. You have completed the mission first kill. You have received 3 modules. Zhang Fan was overjoyed when he heard the 2 notifications. He only had 1 slot left and was wondering if he should take down the mechanized mind module first. Now that he had obtained 3 more slots, he didn't have to worry about which one to give up. With the help of the memory module, Zhang Fan quickly flipped through Hein's experiment notes and found a few key pieces of information. Firstly, Hein's house was in Knockback Alley. Secondly, Hein's house had a lot of valuable magic materials. Thirdly, Hein's house had a lot of books and notes that recorded spells. A few of them were created by him. Fourthly, when a wizard killed someone, their soul would be marked with the mark of the murderer. Powerful wizards could use certain methods to observe this mark. The last point was a little troublesome. If Dumbledore found out that he had killed someone, his plan to earn reward points in Hogwarts would be ruined. Before returning to Hogwarts, he had to think of a way to solve this problem. Zhang Fan activated his eagle eye vision. After confirming that no one had seen him, he began to recall the contents of the standard spell. Soon, he found the spell that he wanted. Dumbledore had only taught him a few of the more common spells, such as the disarm spell and the protect spell. If he wanted other spells, Zhang Fan would have to find a way to learn them himself. Buying books was one of the simple and practical methods. He pointed his black wand at the corpse on the ground and whispered, "Blazing flame." Orange flame suddenly rose from the corpse. In less than a few seconds, the corpse on the ground was turned into a pile of black ash. Zhang Fan felt a little strange since it was his first time killing someone. However, killing someone with a spell was different from killing someone with a cold weapon. The pressure wasn't that great. He used his mechanized mind to sort out his emotions and recovered completely. Then, he walked towards Hein's house. Hein's house was at the edge of Knockback Alley. It was a small half-wooden building. Although there were some key information in the experiment notes, there was no mention of any traps in the house. Therefore, Zhang Fan chose to sneak in cautiously. Noiselessly, he pointed his black wand at himself. This was a silent spell. After using this spell, he would not make any sound. Then, he activated Eagle Eye Vision. As soon as he activated his Eagle Eye Vision, Zhang Fan saw 2 red circles at the door. One was on the door handle, and the other was on the doormat. There was no countdown outside the red circles, which meant that the 2 mechanisms had not been triggered yet. Zhang Fan blinked and let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, I have Eagle Eye, otherwise, I wouldn't even know how I died. Zhang Fan did not know how to break Heinous spell trap, but he had other ideas. He walked a few steps around the house and found a wall that had not been enchanted. Disintegrate. Following the incantation, the wooden wall shattered into pieces. He strode in. As soon as he entered, Zhang Fan frowned. The room was filled with the stench of blood. The floor, the walls, everything was dark red. It looked quite disgusting. Zhang Fan activated the mechanized mind module without hesitation, not because he was afraid, but because the place was too disgusting. Just breathing was enough to make him want to vomit, and the spells he had learned did not have the ability to clean the air. What kind of experiment requires so much blood, and it's all over the place? This person is crazy. Zhang Fan shook his head and went straight to the storage room. More than 300 gold coins was an unexpected gain. As for the magic experiment materials, Zhang Fan did not recognize many of them, so he simply packed them all and stuffed them into his big book bag. Looking at the bulging bag in his hand, Zhang Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The 20+ books that he had brought with him were really affecting his movements. There were too many of them and they were too heavy. He might as well sell them back to Lihan bookstore later. Of course, he wouldn't sell them at second-hand prices. Next, he went to the study. In the study, Zhang Fan found a lot of information. Some of them were spells that were already in circulation on the market, and only a small part of them were new spells created by Hain himself. For a wizard with average strength, his achievements were praiseworthy. Unfortunately, Zhang Fan was not interested in his spells, so he just threw them all to the system. There were also a lot of spells that were difficult to use in daily life, but Zhang Fan also threw them all to the system. There was a slightly old book mixed in with the spell books. Zhang Fan flipped through it and was a little surprised to find that it was a magic book that talked about all kinds of black magic and evil curses. This kind of book was not like the standard spells, beginner that could be memorized by the memory module. After thinking about it, Zhang Fan put the book into the bag. Before putting it in, he used his eagle eye to check that there were no evil curses, souls, or other dirty things in the book. The moment he used his eagle eye, his pupils suddenly shrank. Without hesitation, he rolled on the ground and aimed his wand directly at the door of the study. Break into pieces. Bang! A black shadow flashed by the door. Zhang Fan's spell did not hit him, but the wooden door of the study was smashed into pieces. Zhang Fan used his eagle eye to observe the person through the wall. He did not see this guy when he came in just now, so it seemed that he did not follow him in. Zhang Fan's eagle eye did not scan the place when he was in the basement. Using eagle eye to observe people through the wall was different from looking at people directly with the naked eye. Zhang Fan could only see a rough outline, but he could not see any details. However, he could see that the person seemed to be a man wrapped in a large headscarf. He. Not bad at all. You're very interesting, young man. A hoarse, eerie voice came from outside the door. You followed me in here? Very good, I didn't see you before. No, I didn't follow you. It was phantom transference. I felt that someone was forcibly entering this place, so I used phantom transference to come here and saw you. Young man, are you interested in following me and becoming my strength? Hearing the first half of the sentence, Zhang Fan showed an expression of understanding. Although he had learned a few spells, he did not have the standard thinking of a wizard, so he often ignored teleportation abilities such as phantom transference and flow powder. He laughed at the second half of the sentence. Follow you? Who are you? Hearing Zhang Fan's voice, the figure slowly came to the door. It was a skinny man with a large purple headscarf on his head. Zhang Fan originally wanted to kill him with a spell, but the man's back was facing him, so he was not in a hurry to do so. Then, under his gaze, the man slowly untied the headscarf wrapped around his head. Looking at the thing that was exposed behind the headscarf, Zhang Fan covered his face with his hands. When a person is unlucky, even water will get stuck in their teeth. Mission hint: encounter one of the ultimate bosses of this world, Voldemort. Voldemort is currently extremely weak. Host can. Zhang Fan did not even bother to listen to the system notifications. The moment he saw Voldemort, he covered his face helplessly while his other hand pulled out the black wand from his right pocket. Disintegrate. 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 The curse shot out directly toward Voldemort's face. Voldemort chuckled. He controlled the headscarf man's body to break Zhang Fan's curse while walking toward Zhang Fan. Calm down, young man. Listen to me. You have talent. I can feel that you have a similar aura to mine. It's the aura of someone who is extremely confident in their own power. Do you care about power a lot? Pledge your allegiance to me, I can give you the strongest power. Zhang Fan was expressionless. He threw out the spells he knew one by one in an attempt to stop Voldemort. When he watched the movies before, he always felt that the people in the wizarding world were making a mountain out of a molehill. No matter how strong Voldemort was, he was just one person. If everyone focused their attacks on him, how could they not win? However, now that they were face to face, Zhang Fan finally understood that a pinnacle powerhouse like Voldemort was not someone ordinary people could deal with. To deal with an ordinary wizard, they might only need to hit him with a curse, but Voldemort was different. Voldemort was too familiar with magic. Most of the spells that Zhang Fan shot out from her wand were easily dispelled with a wave of his hand. Fighting him was like fighting dozens of magi at the same time. Perhaps the only thing that could threaten Voldemort was the Avatar Death Curse. It was a pity that Zhang Fan had not learned it yet. Judging from your expression, you know how strong I am, Voldemort suddenly said. Zhang Fan pursed his lips and stopped casting spells. It was useless to attack Voldemort now. They were not on the same level yet. You're Voldemort? You should be dead, he said helplessly. Unfortunately, I'm not dead. On the contrary, I've crawled back from the abyss of hell. Under my leadership, this world will change again, just like 11 years ago. Voldemort's face grew on the back of the man's head. He had probably used some kind of method to latch onto the man's head. Zhang Fan had an impression of this. While listening to Voldemort's nonsense, he asked the system to repeat what it said at the beginning. Repeating mission hint, host has encountered Voldemort, one of the ultimate bosses of this world. Voldemort is currently extremely weak. If the host manages to escape from Voldemort's pursuit, the host will be rewarded with a golden lottery. If the host defected to Voldemort, there will be no reward. Surrender? Zhang Fan shook his head in amusement. This option had never appeared in his consideration from the very beginning. Was the system purposely giving him this option to provoke him? Seeing Zhang Fan shake his head and smile, Voldemort narrowed his eyes slightly. How about it, young man? It's time to tell me, your choice. The wand in Zhang Fan's right hand drooped down and no longer pointed at Voldemort. His left hand was in his pocket and did not take it out. Mr. Voldemort, how do I put it? In short, it's impossible for me to follow you because I also want to be the Demon King, Zhang Fan said seriously. Hearing this, Voldemort's ugly and distorted face was stunned for a moment. Then, he could not help but reveal a mocking smile. You want to be the Demon King too? You want to take my place? That's a good idea, but it's too stupid. This world doesn't need two dark Demon Kings. You only have two choices, surrender or die. This is a choice that many wizards have made. No one can find a third option. You can't do it either. You have so little confidence in your future peers. Maybe when I'm strong in the future, I can pull up an organization that's not inferior to yours. When that time comes, if I were to take over your Death Eaters, how embarrassing would it be when you remember what happened today? Are you trying to provoke me? Voldemort roared angrily. He raised the wand in his hand and threw a spell over. Zhang Fan's body tilted slightly to the side to avoid the spell. The black wand in his right hand moved slightly. Raging flames. It's useless. Voldemort controlled this body and raised his arm high, directly blocking Zhang Fan's magic halfway. The moment he saw Voldemort raise his wand, Zhang Fan's left hand moved. From the beginning of the battle, he had activated the god's perspective of eagle vision. So, no matter how Voldemort aimed at him or sneaked an attack on him, he would not be hit. Now, it was precisely because of eagle vision that he could capture the moment when Voldemort cast a spell to dispel the raging flames. At this moment, Voldemort was unable to release a second spell. Zhang Fan expressionlessly pulled out a white wand from his left pocket and aimed it at Voldemort under his surprised gaze. Shatter. Bang! There was a flash of red light. Voldemort, or rather, the man under Voldemort's control, was sent flying with a scream. He crashed into the wall. One of his legs had been shattered by Zhang Fan's spell. Zhang Fan had been aiming for Voldemort's face, but unfortunately, Voldemort's strength was too abnormal. He had been able to deflect the spell even when he was weak. One could only imagine how strong he was when he was at his peak. Now, I'll give you a third option, Mr. Voldemort. Stay, Zhang Fan roared. Brat, don't think that we'll meet again after you win, Voldemort shouted angrily. Then, with a snap, he disappeared into the air. Looking in the direction where Voldemort disappeared, Zhang Fan finally heaved a sigh of relief and retracted his eagle vision. It was too dangerous just now. Fortunately, Voldemort was now in an extremely weak state. If Voldemort was in perfect condition, he would have no choice but to surrender. Just as he thought of this, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations, you have exceeded the requirements of the mission. You have successfully defeated the Black Warlock boss Voldemort, extremely weak state. Completion level, SS. You have received 300 reward points, 1 normal lottery ticket, and 1 gold lottery ticket. Draw. Having just defeated Voldemort, Zhang Fan felt that he was especially handsome and confident when he shouted the word draw. Reading books on Labor Day, at Zhang Fan's command, the lucky draw began immediately. The normal lucky draw has begun. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Traceless Fate attribute. After obtaining this attribute, any prophecy or detection spells targeted at you will be ineffective. Any spells that peek at your status will also be ineffective. Hearing this, Zhang Fan was stunned at first, then he could not help but reveal a surprised expression. This attribute came at the right time. He had just killed a person. In this world of Harry Potter, after killing someone, the soul would leave a trace. If it was not handled properly, it could easily be detected by powerful wizards like Dumbledore. If Dumbledore knew that Zhang Fan had killed someone, he could forget about staying in the magic school. But now, there was no problem. With the Traceless Fate attribute, Zhang Fan was not afraid of being peeked at. Even Dumbledore would not be able to see what Zhang Fan had done. This lucky draw was equivalent to directly solving Zhang Fan's biggest problem. This lucky draw is too lucky. It's like I bought the skill myself. Zhang Fan could not help but sigh. This is the correct guess, host, the system suddenly said. Zhang Fan was stunned. What is the correct guess? Don't tell me the lucky draw really does increase my luck? The lucky draw is much better than directly buying the module. First, during the lucky draw, the system will automatically detect the type of module that the host needs and try to find the most suitable module. As for the details, it can only be divided by luck. This point alone is much better than buying the module yourself. Second, during the lucky draw, the prizes included are the entire database of the module, as well as other prizes. If the host buys the module directly, he can only see a small part of the database. This is also a big difference. Because of this, the lucky draw is more expensive than directly buying the module. I see. Zhang Fan was stunned for a moment. Only then did he realize how careless he was. If the system had not reminded him, he would not have noticed that the lucky draw was more expensive than directly buying the module. He subconsciously felt that the system's price arrangement should be reasonable. Of course, you don't have to be superstitious about the lucky draw. Just like I said, the lucky draw can only be based on the general direction of your needs. As for the details, it can only be left to fate. If you get a module that you don't need and you can't wait for the next lucky draw, then you can only spend money to buy it yourself, the system said seriously. Zhang Fan nodded. Understood. Thank you for the reminder. You don't have to thank a system. This system is just providing you with a service. Zhang Fan thought about it and decided not to dwell on this issue. Instead, he started the golden lucky draw. Golden lottery begins. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the phase shift module. Loading module. Loading complete. Phase shift. Zhang Fan looked puzzled. What did that mean? After activating this module, the host will directly enter another dimension. In this dimension, no one will be able to discover your whereabouts through any means. No matter what you do, it will be a matter of another world to others. The duration of use depends on how much energy you have. With the support of the advanced energy module, you can use it continuously for about 5 minutes. Holy **T. Zhang Fan's eyes twitched. As expected of the golden lottery, he had actually obtained such a terrifying ability. This was almost equivalent to invisibility plus invincibility plus freedom of movement. With this wave would be very strong. Are there any restrictions? Zhang Fan asked after some thought. He did not want to lose his life because of some limitations of the invincible module. When phase shift is deactivated, there is a 1-second delay. Please do not deactivate it while you are within the enemy's attack range. Is that so? Not bad. There is no preparation time to activate it. At least there is no pressure when escaping. If I had this module just now, would I have been afraid of Voldemort? After obtaining this new ability, Zhang Fan suddenly felt that he had become more powerful. After Voldemort left, Zhang Fan felt relieved. He began to tidy up Dark Wizard Haine's house bit by bit. Whether it was money or reward points, he did not plan to let go of any of them. When he reached the laboratory, Zhang Fan stopped. Looking at the large pile of carelessly discarded meat in the room and the buckets of fresh blood in the corner, he felt his face twitch. This Haine is really a madman. Looking at the amount of meat, he must have killed at least 20 people. No, judging from the blood everywhere outside, he might have transported a lot out. The total number of deaths is probably hard to calculate. If that was the case, killing him was the right thing to do. If he had not killed him, he did not know how many people he would have killed. Suddenly, Zhang Fan showed an expression of realization. No, it's not that Haine is crazy. He's trying to help Voldemort. Voldemort is now living in someone else's body in a half-dead state. He needs someone else's life force to maintain his existence. That's why he forced Haine to do things for him. It's also because of this that he discovered me as soon as I invaded this place. That's right. If you think about it this way, things are clear. Fortunately, I haven't watched Harry Potter for too many years, so I can still guess some of the details. Saying that, Zhang Fan let out a long breath. If he had known that this was Voldemort's territory, he would not have entered. After cleaning up Haine's house, Zhang Fan now had a total of 479 gold coins, some silver coins and copper coins, and 1221 reward points. Carrying a large bag of gold coins, Zhang Fan walked towards the wizard bank, Gringotts. He needed a place to store his money. Only an idiot would carry a large bag of gold coins around the streets every day. When he learned the spatial magic in the future, he would be able to enlarge his bag and store a large pile of gold coins. However, he did not know how to do that now, so he could only store his money first. The procedure to open an account at Gringotts was simple. The wizard world was not as complicated as the Muggle world. After doing all that, Zhang Fan arrived at his new destination. Located in the depths of Overturn Alley was a shabby little house. This was what he saw from Haine's notes. It was a place called Blood Bar. In this place, all the desperate wizards could receive missions that they liked. Through these missions, they could exchange for rewards that they liked. In short, it was probably the wizard world's black market bounty agency. Standing at the entrance of Blood Bar, Zhang Fan slowly pulled on the hood of his robe and pushed the door open. The 1-month appointment with Dumbledore was about to end in a blink of an eye. In this half a month, Zhang Fan had changed a lot compared to when he first came to this world. The old wooden door of the Blood Bar was pushed open with a creak. The few wizards sitting in the bar turned around to see who came in. When they saw that it was a kid wearing a cloak, they all turned around and pretended not to see. A wizard who just came back from abroad saw this scene and curiously whispered into his drinking buddy's ear. "Hey, brother, what's going on? Why did you all stop talking when that kid came in?" Hearing this, his drinking buddy was so scared that he moved a stool away from him. If you want to die, don't drag me down with you. The wizard who spoke blinked his eyes in confusion. At this moment, Zhang Fan was already sitting in front of the bar counter. Because the bar chair was designed for adults, it was a little troublesome for him to get up. He had to use a shrinking spell to lower the chair. However, this somewhat funny action did not make anyone laugh. The reason was simple. A month ago, when Zhang Fan first came to the blood bar, a wizard mocked him for not being able to sit on the chair. Zhang Fan taught him a lesson on the spot. Even the bar owner, Bayers, could not guarantee that he could stop him at that time. Zhang Fan took down a cloth bag from his back and took out a magic wand and a head sealed in ice. The moment they saw the head, the bar was filled with gasps. Zhang Fan ignored them and looked directly at the old man behind the bar counter. Mission completion, Bayers. This is the Yvonne Brewer you wanted. Yvonne Brewer. It's really him. A high-level wizard who had been on the bounty list for 3 years, a man whose escape and anti-detection abilities were comparable to a top wizard, was actually killed by him. As expected of the ghost assassin. This is the 3rd high-level wizard he has killed. If this continues, he will soon become the #1 killer of the blood bar. While the wizards were whispering, the bar owner Bayers calmly checked the head and magic wand to make sure that it was not forged by a transformation spell. He then nodded. 2,000 Garen, I've already deposited them in Gringotts. This is the key, you can go and retrieve it from the fairies. Thank you. Zhang Fan borrowed the key and prepared to leave. At this moment, a magus sitting in the corner suddenly stood up. Please wait. Spirit? Zhang Fan slowly turned around and looked at the magus who had spoken. It was a middle-aged man, and his face was hidden behind a hood. Everyone who came to the blood bar was like this, including Zhang Fan himself. That sorcerer looked very nervous. He frantically took out a key from his robe. I want to ask you to help me with a mission. This is all of my savings, 821 Garen. Please help me. About that, I'm sorry. I won't be taking any missions this year. Zhang Fan raised her hand and said. What? Hearing this, the magi were all shocked. Since entering the profession, the ghost assassin, who had never failed an assassination, was actually going to take a year off? Bayers, who was at the bar counter, also showed a curious expression. Spirit, are you hiding from something? No, I'm going to school, Zhang Fan said in a serious tone. What? Bayers was dumbfounded. I said I'm going to school. I'm 11 this year, and Hogwarts admission notice has already been sent to me. When I have Christmas break, I'll find you guys to celebrate. After saying this, Zhang Fan directly pushed the door open and left. Everyone in the room. The magus who spoke at the beginning looked around blankly. Just now, that person who killed a high-level magus, said he's going to Hogwarts to study? He's 11? If we weren't under the confusion curse at the same time, that should be the case. The magus beside him was also stunned. Are you kidding? There are traces placed by the Ministry of Magic on all underage magi. Under the restriction of the traces, how could he kill so many magi? Another person couldn't help but shout. Maybe his family has some secret technique that can remove the traces. How come I've never heard of such a secret technique? Who do you think you are? In the blood bar, it was as noisy as usual. As for Zhang Fan, he had already brought the key to the Magus Bank, Gringotts. He directly walked in front of a fairy who was working and took out the key. I'm here to open a vault. Mr. Bayers just applied for a vault a few days ago. Looks like Mr. Spectre has completed another big order. The fairy said with a little reverence. He walked out from behind the desk and brought Zhang Fan to the underground passage. Gringotts' treasures were all stored underground. In the huge and complicated underground cavern, there were many small vaults. Not only were there natural dangers, there were also many terrifying creatures, spells, and traps. If one wasn't a staff member, there would be no chance of survival. Zhang Fan was now considered a frequent customer of Gringotts. In a month, he earned tens of thousands of Garen just by completing missions, which was equivalent to millions of RMB. In this era, the purchasing power of money was still very strong. If it was in the modern era, Zhang Fan's wealth would definitely make him a millionaire. This was the speed of making money from people's lives. Sitting in the fairy's minecart, Zhang Fan quickly took out 2,000 Garen from the vault and transferred it into his own vault. Before leaving, he took out some money and placed it in his backpack. He took the same route back to Gringotts' main hall. Just as Zhang Fan was about to leave Gringotts, he suddenly saw a person wearing a cloak like him walk in. This person gave Zhang Fan an inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if he had seen him somewhere before. He activated his eagle eye vision. Zhang Fan couldn't help but smack his lips when he saw the two faces inside the cloak, one at the front and one at the back. Voldemort came to Gringotts. What did he come here for? It was definitely not something good. If Gringotts were to fall into chaos, what good would it do for him? Of course, he would take advantage of the chaos. Thinking of this, Zhang Fan grinned. He walked out of Gringotts and disappeared into thin air. Professor Quirrell was like a student who had made a mistake. He walked into Gringotts with a heavy and nervous heart. The last time he was so nervous was when he was possessed by Voldemort in Romania. As a law-abiding citizen, he was deeply afraid of what he was about to do today. He was actually going to steal from this terrifying wizard bank under the command of Voldemort? God have mercy on him. He was just a mere intermediate wizard. How could he have the ability to steal from Gringotts? If it wasn't for Lord Voldemort staring at him from the back of his head, Quirrell would have run away long ago. Perhaps sensing Quirrell's mood, Voldemort, who was hiding in his large headband, impatiently urged him. This made Quirrell panic and he quickly did what he was supposed to do. The plan was simple. First, he had to go down to the underground vault of Gringotts. Then, Voldemort would personally kill the fairy who brought them down. Finally, he would steal the things they wanted. Lord Voldemort was very unhappy with this plan. If he was at his peak, why would he spend so much time thinking about how to steal? He would just bring a bunch of Death Eaters and fight his way in. The fairy who was in charge of receiving Quirrell looked at the key and nodded before bringing him to the minecart. If Quirrell got down from the cart and looked at the bottom, he would see a little demon sticking to the bottom of his cart. Zhang Fan followed Quirrell's cart all the way down to Gringotts. He kept his eagle eye open to make sure Voldemort didn't notice him. He stuck to the bottom of the cart. He felt that Voldemort would expressionlessly take out his wand and cast a death curse on him like in a movie. To put it bluntly, he was just scaring himself. Fortunately, when the minecart stopped, nothing like what he had imagined happened. Looking at Voldemort, who was walking away with the fairy, Zhang Fan crawled out from the bottom of the cart. With his eagle eye, he could see through the walls of the vault and see the scene inside. It's different from what I expected. I thought Voldemort opened this vault to get close to Dumbledore's vault. There's a lot of good stuff inside. With the eagle vision, Zhang Fan saw a lot of precious spellcasting materials. These were probably used by Voldemort for his life-prolonging experiment. Compared to these materials, the gold coins next to them were nothing. Under the guidance of the sprite, Voldemort walked into Vault 715, but Zhang Fan noticed that Voldemort's gaze was fixed on Vault 711, which was not far away. Voldemort did sneak into Gringotts in the first movie. He wanted to steal the Philosopher's Stone. That means Vault 711 might be Dumbledore's vault. Voldemort wanted to sneak in to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Zhang Fan narrowed his eyes, trying hard to recall the information he needed. The Philosopher's Stone was definitely not in Dumbledore's vault. Otherwise, Voldemort wouldn't have gone to Hogwarts to look for the Philosopher's Stone. Hence, Zhang Fan's target wasn't the Philosopher's Stone. Quirrell walked into the vault carefully. Just as the fairy's back was facing him, he didn't hesitate to point his wand at the fairy's back. With a wave of his wand, the fairy suddenly showed a dazed expression and walked to Voldemort's side in a daze. This should be the soul-seizing curse? As expected of Voldemort, he can still silently cast the unforgivable curse when he's extremely weak. Zhang Fan nodded in admiration. Take this fairy and let's go to Vault 711, Voldemort said in a hoarse voice. Yes, my master? Quirrell held his wand in a panic, bringing along the fairy who was controlled by the soul-seizing curse. They rushed towards Vault 711. Zhang Fan used his eagle vision to follow behind the two of them at a distance. At the same time, he kept an eye out for enemies. Under his gaze, Voldemort once again poked his face out of Quirrell's large headscarf. This was a sign that he was going to do it himself. The door of Dumbledore's vault was made of a special material. Only a fairy could open it. Otherwise, even if Voldemort personally came, it would be useless. Hence, Voldemort specially used the soul-seizing curse to control the fairy. Under the fairy's control, the door slowly opened. Dumbledore's vault? Ha, that despicable old thing definitely didn't expect me to come here. Voldemort grinned and strode in to look for the Philosopher's Stone. Zhang Fan stroked his chin. The Philosopher's Stone wasn't here, so Dumbledore's vault didn't have much value. Dumbledore didn't like to store things in vaults. He kept things in the principal's office every now and then. Hence, rather than wasting time following Voldemort, he might as well visit Voldemort's vault. Damn it. No, there's no stone anywhere. Dumbledore. That old BD must have smelled something and moved the stone away in advance. After searching Dumbledore's vault for a while, Voldemort had no choice but to angrily admit that he had lost to Dumbledore once again. Master, then should we return to Vault 715 and bring my materials? We should go to Hogwarts and meet that old BD. With that, Voldemort returned the control of the body to Quirrell. Following his action, the sprite's soul-seizing curse was undone. Seeing Quirrell walk out of Vault 711, the sprite let out an ear-piercing shriek. Thief? Damn it, you thief. Soul ejection. Quirrell was a little nervous as he added another soul-seizing curse on the fairy. He couldn't let the fairy call for help. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to teach at Hogwarts. The moment he walked into Vault 715, Quirrell happened to see an 11 or 12-year-old kid wearing a cloak and carrying a big bag on his back. He suddenly disappeared into thin air. Quirrell was stunned for a moment. Who was that just now? Then he subconsciously looked around the vault and couldn't help but scream. All gone. The summer sun shone through the tall and long windows of the Hogwarts castle into the hall, covering the floor with golden shards. In the quiet hall of the afternoon, the sound of a fire burning suddenly rang out. A tall green flame emerged from the fireplace on the wall, and a young man slowly walked out from the flames. Zhang Fan squinted and looked up, just in time to see the entire hall of the castle. When he traveled to Europe in his previous life, he had stayed in a similar castle. It was a castle hotel, and one person would have to spend 2,500 gold coins for a night. Although he was not short of money back then, he could not help but feel the pinch. He did not expect to be able to stay in this castle for free in the blink of an eye. He did not bring much with him, only a few sets of clothes, a magic wand, a robe, alchemy equipment, and some other trinkets. As for the books, he did not bring a single one. On one hand, he thought that they were too heavy and troublesome. On the other hand, he had already memorized all the books. Why would he bring them with him? Seems like you have had a good month, Zhang. The old man's voice suddenly rang out, startling Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan subconsciously took a step back and reached for his magic wand with his right hand. He suddenly realized that he had heard this voice before. Following the voice, he saw an old man in a purple magic robe. His beard was so long that it reached his waist, and he wore a pair of half-rimmed glasses on his face. He was looking at him with a gentle smile. Hee. Headmaster Dumbledore. At the sight of this old man, Zhang Fan grimaced and put on a fake smile. Can you explain to me how you can satisfy my expenses with 35 gold coins? Do you want a cup of honey water? It tastes good. Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, then said with a serious face. That's a bit of a bad way to change the topic. Zhang Fan was speechless. In fact, he had already thought it through. Dumbledore did not give him enough money because he had a few tricks up his sleeve. First, Zhang Fan took the money that was obviously not enough and did not express any surprise. This proved that Zhang Fan did not know anything about the wizarding world. He did not even know the most basic exchange rate. Second, if Zhang Fan did not have enough money, he had to find a way to get it. This way, Zhang Fan was bound to get the money through some means. Dumbledore only needed to pay attention to Zhang Fan's movements to know how he made money. In order to fool Dumbledore, Zhang Fan had deliberately worked a lot of part-time jobs in the past month. The money was enough for him to spend. As for whether Dumbledore would associate him with the sudden emergence of the assassin world, Zhang Fan didn't care. Anyway, with Hawkeye's help, he was sure that Dumbledore had never seen his identity as the ghost assassin with his own eyes. After a while, Zhang Fan looked around the hall. Headmaster Dumbledore, didn't you told me that I could learn something from other teachers? Dumbledore. In the next second, the fireplaces around them lit up one by one, and figures walked out from the green flames. Minerva McGonagall, the headmaster of Gryffindor, slowly walked out in a green cloak. Pomona Sprout, the headmaster of Hufflepuff, who wore a khaki-colored cloak. Phileas Fleetway, the headmaster of Ravenclaw, who had a short stature and looked like a dwarf. Severus Snape, who was wrapped in a black cloak and looked like a dark cloud. The four headmasters teleported over at the same time, as if they had made an agreement. Professor McGonagall saw Zhang Fan and nodded in a friendly manner. Thank you for reminding me a month ago, Zhang. Don't mention it. I only realized later that that person's simple phantom spell was nothing in front of you. I was being nosy, Zhang Fan said with a smile. Upholding justice is the virtue of a wizard. Mr. Zhang, you were not being nosy, McGonagall said solemnly. Then he smiled and said, if you can make use of this talent after entering the school, I will give you extra points. Thank you, Zhang Fan nodded. Snape suddenly walked in front of Zhang Fan, bent down, and stared at him with his sharp eyes. Mr. Zhang, I don't know if you've heard of this, but a short wizard assassin appeared in the Blood Bar a month ago. He was as tall as a teenage wizard student, and he killed 3 advanced wizards in a month. A wizard killer? Do adepts kill each other? Zhang Fan was confused. Snape stared at him for a while, frowned, and walked away with a cold snort. Under mechanized mind, there was no way he could break through Zhang Fan's spiritual defense even if he had the ability to steal minds. Dumbledore waved his hand and signaled for them to be quiet. At this moment, the professors in charge of other subjects also arrived. Some of them teleported to the entrance of the school and walked in through the main entrance. Some of them came out of the fireplace like the 4 deans. They were all curious when they saw Zhang Fan. This is the young man who suddenly appeared when the students graduated a month ago, right? Why did he come early? Professor of Magical Creature Protection, Ketlaban, asked subconsciously. Because I personally hired Mr. Zhang to be my assistant before school starts. So, before September 1st, he has the same authority as the teachers and can move around freely in the school, Dumbledore said casually, then looked at the professors around him. By the way, Mr. Zhang might ask you all some questions during this month. I hope you can help each other in the spirit of friendship. Dumbledore's decision made some of the wizards who didn't like to participate in this kind of thing nod their heads in agreement. Some of the smarter ones could tell that Dumbledore hadn't given up on observing Zhang Fan, which made them feel at ease. Snape, in particular, felt that something was wrong with Zhang Fan no matter how he looked at him. If he did not know Zhang Fan's situation, he would not feel at ease. Speaking of which, the professor for this year's Defense Against Black Magic class isn't here yet, Professor Sprout said as he looked at the surrounding professors. That Mr. ran into some trouble on his way here. He might only be here in a few days. Dumbledore shrugged. Zhang Fan was speechless. The professor for this year's Defense Against Black Magic class was Professor Quirrell, whom he had met twice before. He was also the incompetent wizard that Voldemort possessed. It would be strange if he didn't run into any trouble. Before Zhang Fan escaped from Gringotts, he had taken away all of Professor Quirrell's life-prolonging experiment materials. Professor Quirrell must have been searching for new life-prolonging materials these days. It was said that in some countries, the main life-prolonging materials were large-framed glasses and high-waisted pants. Zhang Fan didn't know if it was true or not, but he didn't plan to verify it. He only knew that the things in Voldemort's vault were valuable. Just the dragon's blood alone was enough to buy Zhang Fan's entire vault. Zhang Fan didn't know where Voldemort got so much dragon's blood. Zhang Fan still didn't know what the dragon's blood was used for. He planned to go to Hogwarts library to see if there was any good stuff. Dumbledore suddenly opened his mouth to speak. Minerva, Severus, Filius, Pomona. Let's go according to our plan. The 4 directors who were named by Dumbledore nodded their heads and followed him. Zhang Fan watched from the side. Dumbledore suddenly turned to him and said, "Of course, Zhang. If you want, you can come with us. After all, you're my assistant now." Me. Zhang Fan narrowed his eyes. Dumbledore, the headmaster, was leading the 4 heads of Hogwarts on a mission. It was definitely a big deal for the entire school. Why would he bring an unstable factor like Zhang Fan along? Just as Zhang Fan thought, the 4 heads were a little surprised. "Pardon me for being blunt, headmaster. What we're going to do isn't something that an unknown person can come into contact with," Snape said coldly. Don't worry. I understand." Dumbledore chuckled and said, "But I think it'll be interesting for Zhang to join us, right? If you think it's fun to add uncertainty to things," Snape replied expressionlessly. Professor McGonagall thought for a while and nodded. "I think it'll be fine for Mr. Zhang to join us. After all, he's only a freshman. Also, it'll be my compensation for the 35 guard, Dumbledore added. Zhang Fan couldn't help but flip the coffee table in his heart. "Can you not mention that?" The other 2 deans did not express any objections. Just like that, the other professors went to their own classrooms to prepare for the New Year's work. Zhang Fan's group of 6 walked up the stairs to the 4th floor, passed through a long corridor, and finally walked into a small room. Dumbledore stopped as soon as he entered the house. He slowly turned his head and crossed his slender fingers. He tilted his head and raised his eyebrows at the people behind him. "Before we begin, I would like to reiterate something." His voice was very calm, as if he was discussing with Zhang Fan and the others what they could have for dinner. It was just a few short words, but the atmosphere in the room instantly became heavy. Zhang Fan could clearly feel the bodies of the 4 directors trembling at the same time. "I've already said this before the summer break, but everyone obviously didn't want to believe it. Because of this, I have to repeat it again. This is not alarmist talk, but the reality that we all have to face." Dumbledore looked at Zhang Fan and said, "What we need now is a strong will like Zhang. Even if we hear the name Voldemort, we won't be afraid. If we don't even dare to hear the name of our enemy, how can we fight?" Hearing this, the directors subconsciously looked at Zhang Fan and saw his nonchalant expression. "Don't use me as an example. I just haven't heard of Voldemort," Zhang Fan said as he raised his hand. The 4 heads' expressions became unnatural when they heard Zhang Fan say the name. Dumbledore did not answer Zhang Fan. He slowly took out his wand and pointed it at the floor. Something that looked like a cellar lid floated up and fell to the side. "Voldemort is very weak now. Even if he returns to England, we have enough power to defeat him. In order to prevent him from regaining his strength, we have to make a strong enough trap to protect the thing he needs the most." Zhang Fan's eyes lit up when he heard this. He knew that Dumbledore was referring to the Philosopher's Stone. It was a magical alchemy product that could revive the dead and keep people young forever. It was also one of the things that Zhang Fan was most interested in. However, he did not do anything. He just followed Dumbledore and the others and watched as they went down the hole and set up layers of traps. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to snatch the Philosopher's Stone and escape unscathed. Even if he managed to snatch it, it would be useless. Dumbledore had already hidden the Philosopher's Stone in the Eris magic mirror. The traps here were just a cover. What he did not understand the most was why Dumbledore wanted him to participate in the creation of the trap. Not to mention that his current identity was unclear. Even if his identity was clean, he shouldn't have participated in such a high-level event. The first level was a trap set up by Professor Sprout. She had set up a large number of killer plants on this level Devil's Web. This was a plant that lived in the dark. No matter what it encountered, it would viciously wrap around it like a python. However, anyone who knew a little about botany would know that this plant was afraid of fire. A light from a lighter would be able to repel the Devil's Web. The next few levels were the chess level set up by Professor McGonagall using polymorph. Yes, it should be called the Wizard's Chess level, the Flying Key level designed by Professor Flitwick, and the Potion Puzzle level designed by Professor Snape. In the penultimate stage, he even left a stage for the future defense against black magic Professor Quirrell. He planned to make up for it when Quirrell came. It was a third-rate game with an extremely low difficulty level. Zhang Fan felt that it was a waste of time to accompany them. After doing all this, Dumbledore asked Zhang Fan, "How do you feel?" Zhang Fan nodded. "Pretty good. It's pretty good." Hearing this, Snape could not help but look at him. After setting up the trap to hide the Sorcerer's Stone, everyone left. Zhang Fan originally thought that Dumbledore would definitely keep him by his side and guard him strictly. He did not expect Dumbledore to directly ask Professor McGonagall to bring him on a tour of the school. Zhang Fan could not help but feel that as a young man in his 20s, he was completely different from Dumbledore, this old monster. "Professor McGonagall, I heard from Principal Dumbledore that you're an authority in the field of transfiguration," Zhang Fan said. Professor McGonagall shook his head in amusement. "He's wrong. The authority in transfiguration has always been Dumbledore. Before he was promoted to principal, he was a transfiguration professor at Hogwarts. He's also the most powerful transfiguration master in history. Why do I feel like he's boasting in disguise?" Zhang Fan suddenly said thoughtfully, then shook his head. "Forget it, let's not talk about him." Professor McGonagall, I'd like to ask, is there any way for humans to transform into other creatures? Animagus transfiguration. McGonagall said without hesitation. There's only one way, and you can only transform into one type of animal. You can't transform into other forms. This is an inherent limitation of humans. Can I try to learn it? Zhang Fan began a new round of purchasing knowledge. Meanwhile, in Dumbledore's office, the old man sat quietly in his chair. Opposite him was a man in a black robe with a gloomy expression. Severus, what do you think of Mr. Zhang? Dumbledore asked slowly. He's a dangerous person. I'm willing to bet that he's a ghost assassin. An 11-year-old child who just came into contact with the wizarding world, how could he possibly have such strength? This is obviously his disguise. He sneaked into Hogwarts to hide his secret. If I'm not wrong, this secret is related to the return of the Black Devil King? Dumbledore, you can't let him stay in the school. Snape quickly expressed his opinion. He even sounded like he was growling at the end. Indeed, there are many things about Zhang that are worthy of attention. He's a child whose talent is not inferior to Tom's. No, he might be even stronger than Tom. Perhaps one day, he'll become someone even scarier than Tom. If you're aware of this, then all the more reason why you should. Severus, you're too agitated. Dumbledore interrupted him. First of all, I can guarantee that Zhang did come into contact with the wizarding world for the first time a month ago. Before that, he was a genuine muggle. The only puzzling thing is that I can't find his origin. Even if I use all my connections in Asia, I still wouldn't be able to find his existence. It's as if he appeared in this world out of thin air, Dumbledore said. As for the ghost assassin you mentioned, of course, there are many similarities between Zhang and the ghost assassin, but neither you nor I have any evidence to prove that he is the ghost assassin, right? Dumbledore. Now, regardless of whether he is a phantom assassin or not, he is an existence that is not inferior to the Black Devil King. You want him to stay, do you want to cultivate a new Black Devil King? No? It's because I want to make up for my mistakes that I have to keep him here. Dumbledore said loudly. I've seen all of Tom's changes with my own eyes. He wouldn't have become what he is today. It's because of our suspicions and the exclusion of this world that Tom became what he is today. If we could acknowledge and understand more, some tragedies wouldn't repeat themselves. Snape sneered. That's just your wishful thinking. There's nothing more childish than that. Dumbledore, you're in a different position from others. If you can't make decisions that suit your height, the wizarding world won't become what you want it to be. I've never wanted to change the wizarding world into what I want it to be. Severus. Dumbledore sighed. Zhang Fan will enter Hogwarts. He belongs here. Snape looked at Dumbledore for a long time. Finally, he sighed and slowly walked out of the room. He didn't expect the person he was trying to slander to knock on his door less than half a day after he returned to his office. Snape was astonished when he saw Zhang Fan enter the room. He didn't expect Zhang Fan to take the initiative to look for him. After so many years, his stoic and arrogant aura had successfully stopped 100% of the students from getting close to him. He was very surprised to see someone like Zhang Fan. Professor Snape, I have a question, said Zhang Fan. He didn't hate Snape that much. Although this person had always played the role of the villain in the story, he was one of the few people Zhang Fan admired. Of course, Snape didn't know what Zhang Fan was thinking. In Snape's eyes, Zhang Fan was most likely here to cause trouble. Go ahead, replied Snape calmly. I want to ask, in the 16th step of making the Dragon Power Potion, the book says the amount of snakeweed is determined by the difference in the user's physical fitness. What is the range of control for this amount of snakeweed? Zhang Fan didn't plan to beat around the bush at all. He directly asked the question he wanted to know the most. Snape's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He stared at Zhang Fan for a long time and couldn't help but say in a deep voice, do you know that even professional Potioners wouldn't necessarily research a high-level potion like the Dragon Power Potion? It's even more impossible for a student to successfully make such a potion? When your thinking is restricted by experience, how far can you go? Replied Zhang Fan without hesitation. Snape was stunned for a long time under Zhang Fan's gaze. Normally, he would be shocked by Zhang Fan's words. Then, he would look at Zhang Fan in a new light and fall in love with him. However, right now, Snape only wished that he was still the Death Eater who killed without batting an eyelid. Then, he would curse Zhang Fan viciously. Who was he trying to fool with such a stupid line? Very well. Let's put aside our experience and think more freely, Mr. Zhang. Snape stood up abruptly, and strode to his cabinet as if he was about to run. He reached out and took 2 large glass bottles from the shelf, and then walked back to put them on the table. Come, Mr. Zhang. Please tell me what's in these 2 bottles. Snape looked at Zhang Fan with his unique cold eyes. He had seen too many powerful wizards like Zhang Fan who specialized in combat at a young age. Someone like Zhang Fan might have learned how to hide, disguise, or various combat skills, but he definitely wouldn't have the time to learn potions. Potions were a very complicated subject, and there were many things that even Master Potion Maker Snape didn't understand. As for last month, Snape didn't feel anything. He even wanted to laugh. Zhang Fan couldn't have spent time learning potions last month because he was killing people as an assassin, sheep's eyeballs and the liver of a Sumatran fire lizard. Professor Snape, you're really rich, Zhang Fan replied casually. Snape was stunned when he heard this. Sheep's eyeballs were easy to recognize since they could be identified with a little bit of knowledge about potions. However, identifying the liver of a fire lizard required a lot of experience. Most potion makers could only identify it with the help of magic, let alone being able to tell where it came from with just a glance. Did you sneak into my office? Snape asked suspiciously. There were labels of potion ingredients on the shelf. They were placed behind the ingredients and pasted on the cabinet. One wouldn't be able to see them unless they walked over. If Zhang Fan saw them, he must have been here before. How is that possible? Your office has so many traps. A new student like me wouldn't be able to get in. Zhang Fan shrugged. He did sneak in, but he didn't sneak in like he did before. Instead, he activated his eagle vision. When Snape brought the two bottles over, he knew what they were made of. Snape clicked his tongue. He couldn't refute Zhang Fan's words. He put the two jars back, and his expression darkened. I don't care what kind of tricks you've played, but I will never trust you. You're a dangerous person. Dumbledore must be senile to let you in. If you're here for fun, then I advise you to leave now. I'm here to ask you a question. You're a professor, Zhang Fan said seriously. You're here to ask for advice on a potion that even I don't dare to say I can concoct. Snape couldn't help but grit his teeth. He was 100% sure that Zhang Fan was here to make fun of him. Otherwise, why would she bring out something like the Dragon Power Potion, which normal people wouldn't even think of? I am indeed useful. Aya, don't be so hostile towards me. Our Celestial Empire values peace. Can't your rotten country learn from us? What country? Snape was stunned. Ahem, it's nothing. I was just saying. What are you doing? It looks pretty good. I thought all potion materials were ugly. Zhang Fan smiled awkwardly, and quickly changed the topic. When she lowered her head, she happened to see a soft pink paste on Snape's table. Bandy's heart muscle. You don't even know such a simple potion material. Why are you pretending to know? Snape said coldly. Then, he picked up a small scalpel and started to cut the meat. It was obvious from his expression that this wasn't an easy task. Zhang Fan looked at the meat, and casually said, do I have to cut the meat along the lines of the energy in it? Also, there are some parts that can't be touched. Once you do, the whole meat will release magic, and the material will become useless? Don't ask questions with knowledge that's already been written in books. Also, keep quiet, or get out. Snape scolded impatiently. Zhang Fan grinned. She didn't care about Snape's bad temper at all. I advise you not to cut it. If you cut it, the meat will become useless. What? Snape frowned and looked up with a doubtful expression. Normally, if Zhang Fan questioned his field of expertise, he would have scolded her. However, he had already destroyed 2 pieces of Bandy's heart muscle today. If he continued to destroy it, he would really have to buy new materials. He had no choice but to be cautious. He took out his magic wand and gently tapped the meat. After a long time, his expression froze, and he couldn't help but look at Zhang Fan. You know how to deal with these things. Zhang Fan chuckled. I know a lot of things. This is nothing. Snape looked at the remaining 4 pieces of meat in his hand with a conflicted expression. After a long time, he took a deep breath. I'll teach you how to make the dragon's strength potion. Help me. No. Professor Snape, you're a professor, and I'm a student. Isn't it natural for you to teach me? If you want my help, this is not enough. Under the temptation of Zhang Fan's ability, Snape chose to compromise. Zhang Fan, on the other hand, raised the price without hesitation. Then what do you want? Snape narrowed his eyes. If Zhang Fan dared to make any unreasonable requests, he would flip the table and leave. No, why would anyone leave? This was his office. If anyone were to leave, it would be Zhang Fan. Snape felt that he was about to lose his mind from anger. Zhang Fan smiled as she took the scalpel. With a few strokes, she cut the meat into long strips of equal size. Every piece was perfect. Even if Snape didn't like Zhang Fan, he couldn't help but look at her in admiration. I have a unique technique for dealing with complicated materials like this. In the future, if you have anything difficult to deal with, you can come to me. In exchange, you can lend me your potion research notes. I want to learn, said Zhang Fan. Upon hearing this, Snape couldn't help but reveal an incomprehensible expression. In his opinion, Zhang Fan was an assassin who came to Hogwarts with a conspiracy. But now, it seemed like Zhang Fan really wanted to learn about potions? Could this guy really be here to study? Snape smacked his lips as he looked at the processed piece of Bandy's heart muscle on the table. Although he didn't like Zhang Fan, this was a good deal. I accept. But don't think that I'll let you go. Once I find evidence, Azkaban will be waiting for you. Snape took out a thick book with a black cover from his drawer and placed it on the table. For the entire month of August, Zhang Fan seemed to have turned over a new leaf. Other than helping Dumbledore and Snape with potion ingredients, she spent the rest of her time learning from the various professors. She kept the useful stuff for herself, and gave the useless stuff to the system as points. From July to August, Zhang Fan had collected more and more curse spells. Just by selling these curse spells, he now had 8,425 reward points. It was almost enough for him to enter the Golden Lottery. However, compared to the Golden Lottery, Zhang Fan had something he wanted more. Although the Golden Lottery was powerful, it might not be suitable for him. The 2 modules he wanted were more useful. The first was the upgrade package for the Eagle Vision module. It cost 5,000 reward points. After buying it, Eagle Vision would gain many new abilities. For example, it could automatically aim at enemies, determine whether the enemy was friendly or malicious, expand the range of God's view, and display some basic information about the enemy. The other module was Split Attack. It cost 4,000 reward points. He could split his magic spell into several parts to hit different enemies. The more parts he split, the weaker the magic spell would be. If this module was combined with the aiming function of the upgraded Eagle Vision, it would be a heaven-defying existence. It would not be a problem for him to kill his way through a crowd of enemies. Zhang Fan originally wanted to collect 9,000 reward points to exchange for both modules. However, it was getting harder and harder to collect 500 reward points. He decided to give up and exchange for the Eagle Vision upgrade package first. After the Eagle Vision module was updated, Zhang Fan suddenly felt that his eyes had become clearer. Zhang Fan's pupils constricted, and he immediately activated his Eagle Eye. Instantly, all physical barriers became meaningless to him. He was now in the teacher's lounge on the first floor. After activating Eagle Vision, he could directly see the small magical creatures in the cabinet. He could also see the house elves busying themselves in the basement kitchen. He could also see Filch, who was sweeping the office not far away. Unlike before, these creatures now had color labels in his eyes. Creatures that were completely harmless to him, such as the little bugs in the cabinet that lived on dust, were a dark bluish-gray color. They were almost the same color as the walls and other inorganic materials. As for the house elves that were harmless to him, they were blue in color. An old lunatic from the Chaos faction like Filch, who disliked everyone, would appear orange when he was using Eagle Vision, and blue when he wasn't using Eagle Vision. This meant that Filch was someone who needed to be wary of, but he wasn't a threat at all. Zhang Fan looked at Snape's office. As expected, it was red. Snape's hostility towards him had never decreased. He didn't even need Eagle Eye to know. At this moment, he suddenly saw the blue Dumbledore walking towards him. He deactivated his Eagle Vision and took out his wand. The door to the lounge opened and Dumbledore walked over. "Thank you, Zhang. What happened, Principal? Why did you come here personally?" Zhang Fan asked curiously. Zhang, do you know what day it is tomorrow?" Dumbledore asked out of the blue. "Tomorrow." Zhang Fan blinked and said, "September 1st, the first day of school. I forgot." "Why? Is there anything you need me to do?" "Of course, you need to take the train to London." Dumbledore laughed. "Take the train?" Zhang Fan was stunned. "Of course. All new students have to take the train to the academy, then row a boat across the lake and finally come to Hogwarts. This is a ceremony and a rule. No one is an exception. You are the same, Zhang. Do you have to be so rigid? Am I not your assistant? Can't I enjoy some special treatment?" Zhang Fan's expression was pained. He had been learning wizard combat skills from Professor Flitwick for the past 2 days. He didn't have time to take the train to London. All the more reason to set an example. Dumbledore didn't back down. Zhang Fan could only shrug helplessly. Before he left, he had specially informed the professors. As soon as they heard that Zhang Fan was going to participate in the freshman ceremony, the professors were very supportive. Even Snape, the old bat, had delayed the 3 sets of materials that Zhang Fan owed him a few days ago. It seemed that the ceremony was indeed very important to wizards. The only thing that Zhang Fan regretted was that Voldemort hadn't come yet. That was their defense against black magic teacher, Quirrell. If Quirrell had come, this school would have a dark devil king and an assassin. It would have been too interesting. While thinking, Zhang Fan walked into the fireplace and sprinkled a handful of fleur powder. With a flash of fire, he was back in Diagon Alley. After leaving this place for a month, he had almost forgotten what it was like here. Unlike 2 months ago, when school was about to start, there was an obvious increase in the number of wizards here. Most of them were young couples with their children. There were even more single wizards with their children. In this world, there were more mixed-blood wizards than pure-blood wizards. Although the streets were very lively, Zhang Fan didn't like the atmosphere. He actually preferred the blood bar. At least there weren't these brainless kids chattering and laughing. Considering the impact, Zhang Fan didn't go to Overturn Alley. Instead, he went to the Broken Cauldron Bar. He couldn't do anything in the blood bar anyway. He would have to listen to the complaints of those dark wizards. Zhang Fan pushed open the door and walked into the bar. Before he could do anything, he was already shocked by the scene in front of him. In the bar, a few men in suits were sitting in front of the bar and chatting with each other. Every one of them was an Oro, a black wizard hunter. Zhang Fan knew them because each of their heads was on the blood bar's bounty list. Zhang Fan even knew how much each of their heads was worth. With so many Oros gathered in Diagon Alley, it was obvious that the Ministry of Magic valued Harry Potter. Zhang Fan shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, someone patted his shoulder. He turned around and a smile appeared on his listless face. "Isn't this a coincidence, Uppel?" Instead, she came alone. Zhang Fan felt as if she had been healed when she saw the cute little face of this little girl. Hermione could not help but feel a little depressed when she saw Zhang Fan's heartless smile. She had been coming to Diagon Alley every few days to see if Zhang Fan was around, but she had not seen her even once. When she asked others if they knew Zhang Fan, almost no one knew her either. Only the people in the bar were familiar with Zhang Fan. When she asked them where Zhang Fan was, they would not tell her. It wasn't easy for her to meet Zhang Fan, but the other party didn't seem to be surprised at all. Wouldn't this make it seem like she, Hermione, was too eager to meet her? At this thought, Hermione froze. Under her gaze, Zhang Fan suddenly leaned over and kissed her delicate cheek. "Long time no see, Hermione. Did you miss me?" "Not at all." Zhang Fan's sudden attack took Hermione a long time to react. She replied angrily. "Then I'm really sad. I've been thinking about you every day for the past 2 months, but you didn't even miss me. Zhang Fan sighed. Hermione quickly apologized. No, I missed you too. I often came to Diagon Alley to look for you, but you weren't there. If it weren't for the fact that school is about to start, you probably wouldn't have come. Of course I'm angry. Oh, so you often come to Diagon Alley to look for me. As expected of my dear Hermione. Zhang Fan, who was still sighing, suddenly laughed. Hermione realized that she had been fooled. She was so angry that she hit Zhang Fan a few times. Hey, Zhang, bring your little girlfriend to the side. You can't block the way at the entrance, Tom, the bar owner, said loudly with a laugh. Hearing this, the few Oros sitting in front of the bar looked over. Seeing Zhang Fan, one of the dark-skinned magi seemed to have remembered something. He suddenly said, "You're Zhang Fan, right? I've heard of you before. Did you see me on the Ministry of Magic's wanted list?" Zhang Fan could not help but complain in her mind. She put on a confused expression. "You've heard of me? Where is it?" "Hogwarts. I went to Hogwarts half a month ago to do some work. Madam McGonagall mentioned you to me. She said you're very talented. She even recommended Auror to recruit you before you graduate," the dark-skinned wizard said with a smile. "Then I'll be looking forward to you guys poaching me." Zhang Fan revealed a playful look. McGonagall's joke was pretty good. Asking the Dark Magi hunters to poach a Dark Magus into their organization. Just thinking about it made them feel good. Hermione looked at Zhang Fan curiously. "Hogwarts? You've been to Hogwarts already? Didn't they say that freshmen can only go there on the 1st of September? Something happened, so I stayed there for a month in advance to help Principal Dumbledore sort out the documents for the previous semester. As soon as school started, I was kicked out. It sounds great to be able to meet the professors in advance and communicate with them." Hermione couldn't help but look a little envious. She liked to learn more than Zhang Fan. Unfortunately, good things often fell to those who were not so good, such as Zhang Fan. "Believe me, Hermione, after you go to Hogwarts, the professors will definitely like you more than me. You're the hope to increase the average score of Hogwarts." Hermione rolled her eyes cutely at him and directly ignored his words. After resting for a day in Diagon Alley, Zhang Fan and Hermione went to London's King's Cross station the next morning. All the young wizards and wizards would step into their own wizarding world from here. Hermione was a little nervous along the way. After all, she grew up in a Muggle family. It was inevitable that she would feel a little uncomfortable for the first time. However, after Zhang Fan brought her through the wall and arrived at the 3/4 platform, her nervousness turned into curiosity. Zhang Fan could clearly feel Hermione's joy. Although it wasn't his first time at Hogwarts, it was still his first time there. It was also a little refreshing to be at the 3/4 platform. However, before he could feel the novelty, a figure appeared that surprised him. It was Professor Quirrell, who was wearing a long robe and a ridiculously large headscarf on his head. After disappearing for an entire summer vacation, he had finally reappeared. The moment she saw him, Zhang Fan realized that rather than feeling nervous, she felt a sense of anticipation. Could this be the legendary martial artist Shock? Seeing Zhang Fan, Professor Quirrell's expression became a little unsightly. However, perhaps Voldemort said something to him, and his expression quickly returned to normal. He slowly walked around the excited students and came in front of Zhang Fan. "Zhang. Mr. Fan, do you want to talk?" Quirrell couldn't help but stutter when he spoke. Zhang Fan didn't know whether it was because he was nervous or because he was born like this. In any case, it was tiring to listen to him speak. "I don't have time. I have to accompany my girlfriend." Zhang Fan waved his hand. "I'm not your girlfriend," Hermione protested. Hearing Zhang Fan's words, Quirrell looked surprised. I thought you would fight." Zhang Fan looked at him speechlessly. "You're a professor now. Why would I take the risk to expose you? What if I PS off the person behind your head and he bites me?" Quirrell wanted to say something, but his voice suddenly stopped and became hoarse. Zhang Fan knew that Voldemort was probably using Quirrell's mouth to speak. After all, there were many people here, and he wasn't afraid of exposing his identity. "Haha, Zhang, you're really interesting. If you don't mind, come sit in the teacher's cabin. Of course, you can bring your little girlfriend." After that, Quirrell turned around and left. From the beginning to the end, he didn't mention the vault. Zhang Fan didn't know if he was too embarrassed to talk about it, or if he was pretending to be magnanimous. Either way, it wasn't a bad thing for Zhang Fan. Compared to this, he was more curious about why Voldemort was in such a hurry to talk to him. What did he want to talk about? "Please bookmark me again." "Who was that just now?" Hermione asked, puzzled. She instinctively felt repulsed by Quirrell, but she did not know why. Zhang Fan reached out and patted her head. "He's our defense against black magic professor. His name is Quirrell. Stay away from him. Other than in class, don't come into contact with him alone." "Okay." Hermione nodded. She did not ask Zhang Fan why. Zhang Fan was the first person of her age that she had met in the wizarding world, and he was also the first person who had shown her kindness. She trusted Zhang Fan a lot, but she didn't have any special feelings for him. She was only 11 years old, so she didn't know much about these things. Zhang Fan took Hermione's hand and boarded the train. They found a private room and sat down. At the same time, he took out his wand and taught Hermione a few practical spells. If it were any other time, he would definitely cultivate a relationship with Hermione before saying anything else. However, it was different now. They were almost at Hogwarts. He had to give the girl some confidence. Okay. Hermione was quite confident even if he did not teach her these things. Hermione usually acted like a quiet and gentle girl with Zhang Fan. In front of other people of the same age, this girl was very arrogant. As Zhang Fan was talking, a head suddenly popped in from the door. It was a smiling woman. She smiled and said, "Dear, do you want to buy some food on the train?" Hermione looked over curiously. She probably didn't expect there to be such a muggle-looking salesperson on the Hogwarts train. Zhang Fan, on the other hand, already knew. He took out a few silver coins and bought a lot of food and placed it on the small table. "Just eat something. It'll be night when we reach Hogwarts. We can't go hungry. You should have let me do it. You shouldn't be treating in your current situation." Hermione was a little worried. She did not forget how Zhang Fan had memorized all the books in the bookstore when he had no money to buy them. "Don't worry. I'm a rich man now. I still have to take care of you in the future. How can I always be a pauper?" Zhang Fan was not lying when he said that. There were more than 10,000 garin lying in his vault. His financial strength could be said to be at the level of a tycoon. Seeing that Zhang Fan didn't seem to be joking, Hermione relaxed. "Actually, my dad prepared some food for me, but it's all food that's good for my teeth. You know, he's a dentist, so he's very sensitive when it comes to food," Hermione said helplessly. Zhang Fan chuckled and threw a chocolate frog at Hermione. "That's great. Let's eat something that's not good for your teeth. We'll give Mr. Granger a surprise when you get home on Christmas. My father will definitely fight you to the death." Hermione took the chocolate frog and smiled happily. When she smiled, her eyes were like crescent moons. Zhang Fan liked girls with this kind of smile. Seeing that the train was about to depart, Zhang Fan tugged at his collar. "Hermione, sit here for a while. I'm going out for a while. I'll be back soon." "All right." Hermione nodded. Zhang Fan activated his eagle eye vision to make sure that the train was safe. Then, he nodded in satisfaction and walked towards the staff carriage. He pushed open the door and saw Quirrell sitting inside. He was studying a book that looked very old. As soon as he saw Zhang Fan, Quirrell hurriedly revealed what he thought was a very friendly smile and closed the book. "What are you reading? Can I take a look?" Zhang Fan asked, raising his eyebrows. Quirrell looked a little embarrassed. Fortunately, Voldemort took over his ability to speak. "Zhang Fan, you're a strange person. When we first met, you said that it was your first time in England and that you didn't care about my reputation. But now that you know how dangerous I am, how can you still speak so casually?" Zhang Fan looked at him strangely. "Do you think that I should be trembling and begging for your forgiveness? Are you kidding? This is the Hogwarts Express. You should be the one who's afraid of me. Believe it or not, if I yell your identity here, you'll be done for." "Ha, you're right." Voldemort smiled a little angrily. He looked at Zhang Fan as if he was considering whether to throw a death curse at him. "Like you said, you can expose my identity with Dumbledore, or expose me now. But why haven't you done so? I've been waiting for you for a month, waiting to see when you would report my identity to Dumbledore. But to my surprise, you didn't do that at all. It's really incomprehensible." Hearing this, Zhang Fan took out his wand and pointed at the coffee pot not far away. "Coffee pot, fly over here." He reached out and caught the pot in midair. Zhang Fan then used polymorph to create a clean cup and poured himself a cup of coffee. "Mr. Voldemort, there's an old saying in the Celestial Empire, make a fortune without a sound. I've been through more than you can imagine. So, whether you think that I'm young and mature, or that I'm a Chuyunibyo, I have to make one thing clear. I'm a profit-oriented person. If reporting you doesn't bring me any benefits, then what's the point of reporting you? If reporting you can bring me benefits, then of course, I'm willing to report you." This theory made Voldemort stunned for a moment. Then, he couldn't help but grin. He seemed to like Zhang Fan's way of thinking. "You're becoming more and more to my taste. Zhang Fan, I'll ask you again. Do you want to become my power? If you join me, I can share the secret of immortality with you, and I'll make you my right-hand man, the ruler of this country." Haha. Zhang Fan laughed coldly and ignored Voldemort's crazy words. Voldemort looked a little disappointed. "Those who reject my invitation usually don't have a good ending. When I recover my power, you'll be among the first to die. Is it really okay for you to threaten me like this? Be careful that I'm afraid I'll report you," Zhang Fan said unhappily. "You won't, Ghost Assassin. I'm the Dark Devil King. I'm Voldemort. I've already seen through this. You're so Chuyunibyo." Zhang Fan facepalmed. After saying those harsh words, Voldemort seemed to be in a better mood. He looked at Zhang Fan with a cold, snake-like gaze and concluded, "Since you don't intend to be my enemy now, that's for the best. I'll be my professor and you can play your tricks. As for how things will develop, it's up to each of us. When did I say I won't make you my enemy? I just said I won't make you my enemy if there's no benefit to it. Since you already know I'm an assassin, of course I have to do things for the sake of benefits. If your head was valuable, who knows when I'd take it." Zhang Fan laughed. "Young man, sometimes it's not a good thing to be too confident. That's why I'm so confident." Listening to Zhang Fan's strange speech, Voldemort frowned slightly. He couldn't understand where Zhang Fan's strange speech came from. Could it be a culture unique to his country? Let him be? Voldemort thought helplessly. Zhang Fan was more curious about another matter. Voldemort never mentioned anything about his magic materials. Could it be that he no longer cared about those materials? Voldemort didn't expect that although he had fallen from grace, he was still quite rich. Those materials should be worth at least a few thousand galleons. How could he just throw them away like that? Or maybe he was just trying to save his face. Zhang Fan thought unscrupulously. However, just as he thought of this, Voldemort suddenly said, "There's something I'm curious about. How did you escape from Gringotts that day? Even I don't know of any magic that can make a person disappear completely." "Illusory body spell," Zhang Fan said casually. "This nonsense is meaningless. Do you think a mere illusory body spell can escape from under my nose?" Voldemort said angrily. Zhang Fan narrowed his eyes and looked at Voldemort for a while. He didn't talk about the phase module. Instead, he changed the topic. "Voldemort, did you notice something? Your temper is completely out of your control. You used to be the Black Devil King. Logically speaking, you shouldn't be so petty. But look at you now. Your emotions are exposed. A little trash talk is enough to make you angry. With this, you still want to fight with me?" Hearing Zhang Fan's words, Voldemort's eyes widened. His anger was about to shoot out. His hand subconsciously reached for the wand, and the magic power in his body surged. Zhang Fan sat opposite him expressionlessly, sipping his coffee as if nothing had happened. He didn't even lift his wand. A few seconds later, Voldemort slowly withdrew his hand, and his anger subsided a little. "You found out my secret." Voldemort gritted his teeth. "I didn't discover anything. I'm just reminding you. It's a good thing for me that you're still alive. If you were killed too early, it would be troublesome for me. Try your best to live on, former Black Devil King." After saying that, Zhang Fan put down the coffee cup in her hand and walked out of the faculty compartment. Looking at Zhang Fan's back, Voldemort squinted his eyes and held his magic wand in his hand. He seemed to be preparing an Avada takedown. But in the end, he didn't do it. For now, Zhang Fan wasn't a hindrance to his actions. He didn't need to add another enemy for himself. When he got the Philosopher's Stone and recovered his full strength, Zhang Fan would be as easy as pinching a chicken to death. Zhang Fan closed the door and raised his eyebrows. Although he walked out with his back facing Voldemort, he had been using his eagle vision to watch Voldemort the entire time. If Voldemort were to attack him, Zhang Fan would not hesitate to use the phase shift module to escape and report Voldemort to Dumbledore. Yes, or he could directly kill Voldemort himself. But if he did that, Voldemort could still use the soul tool to resurrect, which was quite troublesome. "A wizard in an extremely weak state dares to show off his strength in front of me. You really don't have any self-awareness." Zhang Fan shook her head, calmed herself down, and returned to Hermione's compartment with a smile. As soon as she got closer, she saw that there was another person in the compartment. It was a little fatty who looked silly. He stood at the door and looked at Hermione with a sad face. "I'm sorry, I wanted to ask, did you see my toad? It ran away from me again. It's always like this." As she spoke, she looked as if she was about to cry. Hermione closed the book in her hand. "I'm very sorry, sir. I didn't see your toad. But when my friend comes back, I might be able to help you look for it." Zhang Fan walked in and patted the fatty's shoulder. "Don't cry, young man. As a man, you should have some backbone." As he spoke, he sat down beside Hermione and reached out to scratch Hermione's little nose. "Did you miss me? If this was the first time I met you, I would have called you a pervert." Hermione rolled her eyes. "The professor asked you to go over. Is there anything wrong? I feel that the professor is a little, well, how should I put it? Strange." "It's fine. Professor Quirrell is a good man. A good man with a problem with his IQ." Zhang Fan laughed. "That's good. Right, Fan, can you help him? He looks so pitiful." Hearing this, Zhang Fan nodded. "Yes, of course you can. You lost a toad, right? To be honest, it is very dangerous to keep this kind of creature. If you keep a toad, you will only have 59 seconds left in your 1 minute." He looked at Fatty as he said the last sentence. Fatty was confused by the meaning of his words. After casually making a joke, Zhang Fan stood up. "Let's go, handsome. I'll take you to find the toad. Hermione, you come too. It's good for your health to take a stroll after a meal." "Okay." Zhang Fan brought the two of them out of the private room. 3 people walked towards them. In the middle was a short, pale-faced, platinum-haired imp. Beside him were 2 short, fat men who looked like bodyguards. Zhang Fan blinked. He realized that his first reaction was that there was a bounty on this imp in the blood bar. 1,800 Garen. His second reaction was that this imp was one of the important characters in the original book, Draco Malfoy. Did he like money that much? This chapter is to make up for yesterday's chapter. Today's chapter will be updated as usual. Please add it to your collection, comrades. Zhang Fan wasn't interested in talking to Marco. Marco was Harry Potter's old rival in the original novel, and he often appeared in the movies. However, in Zhang Fan's opinion, Marco wasn't targeting anyone. He just thought that Harry Potter and Malfoy were trash. That being said, when he passed by Malfoy and the others, Zhang Fan couldn't help but feel a little speechless. "Hey, Crab, Gore, did you know that we have a new defense against dark magic professor on our train? I heard that this profession is cursed. Let's go and see what kind of guy he is." Hearing this, Zhang Fan subconsciously turned around to look at the kid. How bold of him to want to form a group to watch Voldemort. If this had happened during the First Wizard War, it would have been written as a legend. Seeing Zhang Fan looking at the 3 people, Hermione turned around curiously. "Fan, what's wrong?" Seeing 3 people who have a death wish, I'm just mourning for them. Zhang Fan shook his head and led Hermione and Neville to the other side of the carriage. He had used his eagle vision to scan and immediately found the toad. Next to the 3 people, a person wearing the uniform of a train staff slowly walked over. Under the orange long-brimmed hat was a face with an indifferent expression. Her eyes casually swept over the students in the carriage, like a train attendant who had nothing to do during the train journey. However, the moment she saw Zhang Fan, her pupils shrank slightly. This was a sign that she was paying attention. This child's figure is a bit similar, but I can't be sure. After all, that person was wearing a cloak in the photo, and the child's height is about the same. As she thought about it, she brushed past Zhang Fan and went to the next carriage. Who is the phantom assassin? Damn it, he's too good at disguising himself. I can't tell which student has a murderous aura. Or is he just a liar? Is he not a student, but an adult wizard who uses a shape-shifting spell to disguise himself as a child? She sighed helplessly. It was too difficult to find the phantom assassin, but she couldn't really wait until Hogwarts had a Christmas holiday. That would be too late. Although it is very difficult, for the sake of the family, I have to find the ghost assassin. Apart from him, no one else can complete this mission. At this point, she took off the safety helmet on her head, and her short silver-gray hair flowed down like water. Today's mission is almost complete. I've also found a student who seems to be a ghost assassin. I'll try to sneak into Hogwarts again next time. After saying that, she stretched out her slender fingers and with a snap, disappeared from the carriage. With the help of the eagle eye vision, Zhang Fan could easily confirm the location of a toad. He opened the door of a private room and saw the little toad lying behind the door. He took out his wand and prepared to use the levitation spell to catch the little thing. He did not want to touch it with his hands. He could not understand why these wizards could keep such a terrible thing as a pet. He did not understand Europeans very well. An exclamation suddenly interrupted him. Oh, are you going to use magic? You should also be a freshman, right? Could it be that you have already learned it? Hearing this, Zhang Fan raised his head. The one who spoke was a red-haired child. He was thin and tall, and looked clumsy. His face was full of freckles, and he had big hands, big feet, and a long nose. From all aspects, he did not fit Zhang Fan's aesthetic standards. The child sitting next to him was quite good-looking. He was a little boy with black hair, round glasses, and looked quite delicate. Then, Zhang Fan was a little stunned. Harry Potter. Tisk tisk, I accidentally met a famous person. When I was in Xian. Cough, cough, when I was in Diagon Alley, I often heard your name, Mr. Savior. After saying that, Zhang Fan waved a wand in his hand, and the little toad on the ground floated directly to his side. Neville, who was following behind him, gratefully came forward to catch the toad. That's amazing. Seeing Zhang Fan's exquisite levitation spell, the red-haired kid subconsciously sighed in admiration. Harry Potter was embarrassed by Zhang Fan's Mr. Savior. No, the title of Savior is still actually, I don't even know what I did back then, so I'm really just an ordinary person. Well, I know. I didn't say that you were very strong, Zhang Fan replied expressionlessly. Unlike other wizards, Zhang Fan had no intention of getting close to Harry Potter. To be honest, other than the fate between him and Voldemort, Harry Potter was not a big deal. His casting was weak, his incantation was not good, his movement was loose, his reaction was slow, and he did not have a good battle. If he could become the head of the Aoluo tribe in the future, it could be seen that after the Second Great Wizard War, the wizarding world was in a mess. Hearing Zhang Fan's impolite tone, the red-haired kid, Ronald Weasley, showed an unhappy expression. Hey, how can you talk to Harry like that? He defeated the mystery man? If it wasn't for him, would you still be standing here? Zhang Fan turned his head and looked at the kid who had been ignored by him from the beginning. Little redhead, didn't your family teach you that you shouldn't rely on other people's auras to show off when you're outside? Voldemort is not a god. Even if there were 10 Voldemorts, the world wouldn't be ruled by him. Don't worry. Ronald was a little angry at first, but when he heard Zhang Fan say the word Voldemort, he took a deep breath, took 2 steps back, and sat down on the chair. You, how dare you say that name? Unfortunately, I don't think you can understand my thinking. After that, Zhang Fan looked at Harry Potter. Harry Potter, make more friends with people with good characters. I wish you a good future. After that, he turned around and left with Hermione. When Zhang Fan saw Draco mocking Ronald and telling Harry Potter to make less friends with people like Ronald in the movie, Zhang Fan thought that Draco was acting up. Now, he understood Draco very well. When he saw Ronald, who was a moron, he really wanted to make fun of him. Zhang Fan didn't know how many times he had heard the train whistle, but he knew they were arriving at Hogwarts soon. We should change into robes. The admission notice said that, Hermione said. You're right. Zhang Fan nodded and took out a robe from the small pocket at her waist. Seeing Hermione's curious expression, Zhang Fan shrugged and said, this is a space expansion spell. It looks like a small pocket, but it actually contains half of my belongings. If you like it, I can make one for you when I have time. At this point, Zhang Fan suddenly looked out of the car window in surprise. A brown owl was tapping on the glass with its claws outside the window. This surprised him. This owl was too awesome. This was a train, and it could actually maintain a relatively static speed. Although the train was moving at a slow speed, it was still a bit of a cheat. Even owls were better than ordinary owls in the wizarding world. He walked to the window and let the owl in. As soon as the poor thing came in, it couldn't wait to lie down on the small table. It looked exhausted, but of course, it didn't forget its job. It stretched its hind legs, which had the letter tied to it, over to Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan unfastened the letter and unfolded it. Dear Ghost, I'm writing this letter to you for no other reason than to tell you a few things. Although you just left the blood bar a few days ago, there are still a lot of things about you here. First, there have been a few big orders recently that ordinary wizards can't take on. If you have time, I hope you can take care of them. After all, these missions are very rewarding. Second, I heard that a lot of people have been investigating your identity. If you want to use an owl to contact me, try to use an experienced owl to avoid being intercepted. Third, it's said that an elf is looking for you. I don't know why, but if you meet that mysterious race, remember to be careful. Bears. Bears, the owner of the Blood Bar, was the leader of one of the underground forces in the wizarding world. He was also the middleman between wizard assassins and customers. Zhang Fan gave him a way to contact Zhang Fan, so his owl could find Zhang Fan. Someone is looking for me. This is very normal. But what the hell is an elfin? Does Harry Potter have such a creature in his world? Zhang Fan rubbed his chin and tried to recall. There were indeed some fantasy creatures in this world, such as domestic elves, goblins, charming dolls, dragons, and so on. However, he had never heard of elves. Could it be a foreigner? For example, places like Northern Europe? Zhang Fan planned to go to Hogwarts and ask the professors when she had time. They should know. Seeing that Zhang Fan had been reading the letter for a long time without saying anything, Hermione pouted and said, "Could it be from some rich lady?" Zhang Fan looked at her in amusement and shook the letter in front of her. "It's about work. Look at this handwriting. If it's not a big and strong man, how can it be written?" These words weren't false at all. Bayer's handwriting was like a knife, every stroke was very forceful. It was unknown how many quill brushes he had crushed. Hermione also realized that it couldn't have been written by a little girl. However, Zhang Fan's secretive attitude still made her feel a little strange. However, when she thought about how Zhang Fan had to work to support herself at such a young age, Hermione couldn't think of anything else. She just looked at Zhang Fan with a little heartache. "Why don't you help my dad with the clinic? The salary will definitely be enough to live on. We're just 11 years old. It's very dangerous to work outside." Zhang Fan didn't know what to say. He reached out and rubbed Hermione's little head. Her soft and warm hair felt good to the touch. There shouldn't be any danger. After all, I'm very strong. Even Zhang Fan himself did not believe this. Although he had the eagle vision and the help of the omnipotent module system, a curse was similar to a bullet. Who knew when he would die if he was not careful? Therefore, there was definitely danger. Even if it was Voldemort or Dumbledore, no one had ever been able to withstand a curse of death. Hermione nodded and looked at Zhang Fan. For once, she didn't avoid Zhang Fan's hand that was rubbing her head. Looking at Hermione's cute little face, Zhang Fan slowly lowered his head. At that moment, the train suddenly announced, "The train will arrive at Hogwarts in 5 minutes. Please leave your luggage on the train. We will send it to the school for you." The announcement echoed in the train. Zhang Fan raised his head, a little annoyed. This unlucky reporter really didn't know how to read the time. Hermione looked at him in amusement and nimbly put on her Hogwarts robe. "Don't be angry, big pervert. Get ready." Okay. The train slowed down and finally came to a stop. The passengers pushed and shoved one another as they rushed to the door and went down to a dark and small platform. The cold night air rushed in through the door. Zhang Fan squinted his eyes and reached out to touch Hermione's head with his wand. Hermione instantly felt no cold. "Thank you, Fan. I feel much better now. You'll definitely be a very powerful wizard in the future. We're both freshmen, but there's such a big gap between us," Hermione said happily and helplessly. "That's because I used to cheat," Zhang Fan said with a serious face. Not far away, he saw a lamp swaying above the heads of the students. A rough voice shouted, "Freshman, freshman, come over here. Harry, come over here." "How are you? Who's that?" Hermione looked over. Harry Potter's good friend, the keeper of the Hogwarts key, Hagrid. "She's a mixed-blood giant with a good personality. She's a good person. Don't be too cautious around her." Hermione nodded, but she was still a little surprised when she heard the word mixed-blood giant. The students walked through the path in the forest and took a boat across the lake. Finally, they arrived at a flat and wet grassland in the shadow of the castle. Hermione followed the crowd into the castle, but found that Zhang Fan was gone. On the other side, Zhang Fan's figure appeared in the staff lounge. There were a few professors here. When they saw Zhang Fan, they all greeted him in a friendly manner. Zhang Fan had come early because he wanted to see how Voldemort fooled Dumbledore. Perhaps this would be a very useful technique in the future. After greeting the other professors, Zhang Fan found himself a chair and sat down. He crossed his arms and began to take a nap. Professor McGonagall walked in with a stack of parchment papers. She had just led the students into the hall and was about to inform the other professors to attend the banquet. She was stunned when she saw Zhang Fan. "Mr. Zhang, you should be at the entrance of the hall with the other students. Why are you here?" "I'm waiting for someone, Professor McGonagall. You can continue with your work." Zhang Fan smiled. Just as McGonagall was about to say something, a black cloak suddenly rushed in. Snape looked at Zhang Fan with his eagle-like eyes. He was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Zhang Fan to come here. Breaking into the teacher's lounge without permission. Zhang, if you've already been assigned to an academy, I'll definitely deduct points from your academy. Zhang Fan dug his ears and looked at him speechlessly. Aren't I Professor Dumbledore's assistant? What's wrong with coming to the teacher's lounge? That's just for the holidays. The holidays are over now, Snape said righteously. Zhang Fan could only shrug. All right. Just treat it as if I had a stomachache and came here to rest. As a professor at Hogwarts, you won't bully your students, right? Snape was so angry that he couldn't say anything. Every time he argued with Zhang Fan, he would always be the one to be bullied. He had no choice but to endure it for now and deal with Zhang Fan when he was assigned to an academy. With Zhang Fan's annoying personality, there was an 80% chance that he would be sent to Gryffindor. Even if he didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that Zhang Fan's learning speed was really fast. His thirst for knowledge was also much higher than the average wizard. It would be a pity if he didn't go to Gryffindor. When the time came, Snape would severely deduct points from Zhang Fan so that his academy wouldn't be able to raise its head. It would be best if he went to Gryffindor. Snape's mood improved a lot when he thought of this. Zhang Fan suddenly said, "Oh right, Professor Snape. After we're assigned to an academy, can you lend me a potion workbench? I have something I want to make." No. Snape didn't even ask what he wanted, and rejected him right away. "Don't say that. If you don't lend me your workbench, are you going to separate the 3 bottles of two-headed lizard's blood with impurities by yourself? This is not a small project." Hearing this, Snape clenched his teeth. That damned Zhang Fan, how dare she peek into his pocket again? This wasn't the first time this had happened. Still, he had to admit that other than Zhang Fan, there was probably no other adept in this world who could see through the processing of magical ingredients at a glance. His face was gloomy as he walked to the front of the desk in the lounge. He packed up the documents that he had asked for. He was about to begin the assignment of academies, and he had to record which students would be assigned to his academy. At this moment, a tall and thin figure slowly walked in. He had a head full of white hair, a long beard, half-rimmed glasses, and a purple robe. It was Dumbledore's favorite outfit. He laughed as he opened the door. The professor stood up to greet him. Zhang Fan looked at the person behind Dumbledore. It was a short man with a nervous face and trembling body. This year's new defense against black magic professor, Quirinus Quirrell. He didn't even need to rehearse his cowardly look. He just had to act as himself. When Voldemort wasn't controlling his body, he was like a child who was left alone at night. He gave off an aura that said, "I'm easy to bully." "Oh, Fan is here too. What a coincidence. Do you want a glass of juice?" Dumbledore greeted Zhang Fan when he saw him. Quirrell also noticed Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan could clearly feel that his body had stiffened. He was probably wondering if Zhang Fan was here to report him. "Sir, I don't think the first thing you should ask him is what he wants to drink. You should ask him why he's in the lounge as a student. Especially since he's a new student. This is the first time I've seen such an unruly new student." Snape interrupted Dumbledore loudly, but Dumbledore merely chuckled like an old fool. "Don't mind the details, Severus. Today is such a happy day. We should celebrate happily." Dumbledore turned around and introduced Quirrell, who was behind him. "Come, everyone. Welcome our new defense against black magic professor this year, Quirinus Quirrell. He's also a graduate of Hogwarts. He was a good student back then." McGonagall and the others walked up to welcome him enthusiastically. Quirrell sighed in relief. It seemed like Zhang Fan didn't report him. Zhang Fan was also a little confused. Why didn't Dumbledore notice the special aura on Quirrell's body? Could Dumbledore have really gone senile? Zhang Fan scanned Quirrell's body with eagle eye. Sure enough, he found the problem. Normally, in eagle eye, Quirrell's body would be red, which meant that he was hostile and a threat to Zhang Fan. However, the back of his head, which was where Voldemort was, should be dark red, which meant that he was a greater threat. But now, the back of Quirrell's head was the same as his body. They were both red and didn't turn dark. Zhang Fan understood. Voldemort's method was actually very simple. He fell into a deep sleep and completely lost the ability to move. He completely handed over control of his body to Quirrell. That was how he managed to fool Dumbledore. Of course, Voldemort must have left behind some methods to wake himself up. For example, if Quirrell took the initiative to wake him up, if Quirrell was seriously injured, or if Quirrell wanted to turn himself in, Voldemort would definitely wake up. How boring. It seemed like even Voldemort had to cower in front of an old monster like Dumbledore. At this moment, the sound of students chattering could be heard from the outside. It seemed like the students had arrived and the school assignment was about to begin. Let me explain. I fell asleep as soon as I got home from work yesterday. I slept all the way until 9 o'clock in the morning. After waking up, I took a shower and started writing. Because I'm commuting across cities, I have to stand on the bus for almost 4 hours every day, so I'm often in a completely lethargic state. I hope everyone can understand. Today is Sunday. I'm resting at home. I promise to update 4 times a day. Professor McGonagall had already left to guide the students. The other professors also left the room to greet the students in the dining hall. Hermione was standing in a small room next to the dining hall with all the freshmen. Professor McGonagall had just led them here and left. She didn't know what he was going to do. He only told them that the sorting ceremony would begin soon and asked them to tidy up their appearance. At this time, if Zhang Fan was here, she would definitely have an indifferent smile on her face as she slowly explained to her the tricks of the school allocation. But now, only God knew where that BD had run off to. After a while, Professor McGonagall returned. Now, form a single line, he said to the freshmen. Follow me. Hermione followed the large group through the foyer and through a double door at the back into the luxurious dining hall. As soon as she entered the hall, Hermione was shocked by how luxurious it was. The students of the other classes were already sitting around 4 long tables. Thousands of candles floating above the tables lit up the dining hall. The 4 tables were decorated with glittering gold plates and wine glasses. At the head of the dining hall was another long table, which was the seat of the teachers. Professor McGonagall led the freshmen there and had them line up facing the entire senior class, with the teachers behind them. The candlelight flickered, and the hundreds of faces watching them looked like pale lanterns. Ghosts were also mixed in with the students, shining with hazy silver light. The entire hall was magnificent and dreamlike. It made Hermione feel a little romantic and let her imagination run wild. Suddenly, an arm was placed on her head. What are you thinking, my lovely lady? Hermione was startled. She quickly turned around and saw Zhang Fan's smiling face. She couldn't help but feel happy, but then she pouted. Where did you go? I went to the toilet and forgot to use it in the car. I was so bored. Zhang Fan said with a straight face. Hermione rolled his eyes, as if he would believe him. The sorting is about to begin. I'm so nervous. Where will I be assigned? Hermione said, grabbing Zhang Fan's robe. I don't know. It should be Ravenclaw. After all, you're very smart. Of course, it could also be Gryffindor. Zhang Fan said casually. In fact, it was most likely Gryffindor, because Hermione was assigned there in the original novel. However, he did not want to appear as if he could predict everything, so he mentioned Gryffindor first. Hermione nodded. He was very pleased with Zhang Fan's words. After all, you are very smart. Professor McGonagall gently placed a 4-legged stool in front of the freshman. He then placed a pointed wizard hat on the stool. The hat was patched and worn, and it was extremely dirty. Before school started, Zhang Fan had suggested that the old hat be washed, but the hat had objected to it. He thought that his current appearance gave him a sense of vicissitudes. Mother f***er, since when did the vicissitudes of life depend on not bathing? Zhang Fan's face was full of disbelief. If possible, he really did not want to wear that stupid hat. As if sensing Zhang Fan's thoughts, the sorting hat on the 4-cornered bench suddenly grinned at him. This action caused the freshmen to cry out one after another. They didn't think that this lousy hat could do such a high-level action like grinning. He's smiling at us. Harry Potter, who was not far away, exclaimed. I think he's smiling at me. Ronald Weasley said, his face a little flushed. Every time there was something that could make him stand out, he subconsciously wanted to take the blame. Hermione looked at Zhang Fan. Although the hat was smiling at all the freshmen, she instinctively felt that the hat was smiling at Zhang Fan. You and that hat. You know each other. She hesitated for a long time before giving the hat a very human word. Kind of. I once suggested that the professors give this stupid hat a bath, but he refused, Zhang Fan said helplessly. Zhang Fan said helplessly. Hermione couldn't help but laugh when he thought of that scene. Under the gaze of all the students, the sorting hat began to sing. Zhang Fan summarized its song. In short, it first bragged about itself, then introduced the 4 major colleges, then bragged about itself, then bragged about itself, then bragged about itself again, and finally told the students that if they wore it, they would be assigned to the college they wanted. This bragging was a bit too much, coach. Hearing that they only needed to wear the hat for a while, many students breathed a sigh of relief. Hermione began to show a look of anticipation, while Harry Potter, who was not far away, did not look too good. In his opinion, a guy like him who did not know anything would not be assigned to a good college even if he wore the hat. He subconsciously looked at Zhang Fan, who was standing not far away with Hermione in his arms. If it was that Asian, he would definitely be admitted to the best college without any pressure. If only I were as good as him, he said subconsciously. Ronald looked at him strangely. What? Nothing. I mean, I'm afraid that I won't be assigned to a good college. Ronald Weasley immediately comforted him. Don't worry, you're Harry Potter. It won't be a problem. The sorting hat began to call the students up one by one, and soon it was Hermione's turn. Hermione looked really nervous. She hugged Zhang Fan's arm and then walked up. Zhang Fan did not feel any sense of anticipation. After all, Hermione was definitely going to Gryffindor. Hermione put on the hat. The sorting hat thought for a while and suddenly spoke. Ravenclaw. Zhang Fan was stunned for a few seconds. How could it be Ravenclaw? Then he suddenly remembered what he had said to Hermione before. I don't know. It should be Ravenclaw. After all, you're very smart. Of course, it could be Gryffindor. It seemed that his words had influenced Hermione's thinking. After all, the sorting hat had to be based on the student's own opinion. Zhang Fan gave Hermione a big thumbs up from afar. Only by going to Ravenclaw could Hermione bring out her talent to its fullest potential, and the friends she would make would suit her taste better. In a place like Gryffindor, she would only be able to make friends with brats who were all brawn and no brains. Hermione, a precocious girl, was nothing like her. Hermione was also very happy. She waved at Zhang Fan from afar and walked to Ravenclaw's table. After a long time, Zhang Fan also arrived. He smiled and walked up to the sorting hat with a look of disdain. I'm definitely going to wash you out this year, trust me. The sorting hat also smiled. But you have to wear me now. I like to see you annoyed but unable to do anything about it.